Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shop Talk. This is our monthly free live series of classes here on Instagram for people who are selling vintage online. We want you guys to succeed. We want you guys to have lots of fun. And this is actually our 10th episode. I can't believe it, we've had 10 episodes. And here in just a minute, I'm going to get my dear co-host. Okay, Nicole, it's not giving me an option to add you. So can you try requesting? We had a lot of problems last time Nicole and I went live. I see your request. Okay, I am going. This is going to be an open Q&A. And if you've never joined Shop Talk, you can catch all previous 9 episodes on YouTube. Okay, good. Oh my goodness. I was like, not again.
Looks like I have a dollop on my head.
No, you are fine. I have like a really bad glare, so we're gonna scoot back. I don't know. Okay. We're just y'all give us a minute to get settled here as we you know how it is going live. Anyway, can you believe it? This is our 10th episode. I'm so excited. I know, I'm so excited. Okay, so as I was saying, if you guys have never been here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Please drop where you're joining us from in the world in the comments down there. Make sure that you're following both Nicole and I because we're always sharing not just like great vintage pieces, but also advice and tips and all of that kind of thing. And today is, since it's our 10th episode, we're going to do an open Q&A, and this is so fun. Okay, so we do have a list of questions that we're going to work through that you guys have submitted. Oh, another Kansas girl. All right, Debbie Breer. Where in Kansas are you? I'm in Lenexa, Southwest Missouri, so you're not too far from me. Canada.
All over the place. Oh, Georgia, Virginia, awesome. Michigan.
Oh, okay, while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna put a little note here. Submit questions in question box. Sorry, talking as I type. Okay, guys, so you should see on the bottom right corner of your screen. Okay, I'm gonna pin this. You should see on the bottom right corner of your screen. Here we go. I'm gonna pin the comment so it shows up. That there is like a little box. Oh, you're from south of Salina. Yeah, okay. There's a little box, like a little speech bubble, and it has a question mark in it. If you guys can put your questions in there, that will help us so much to keep track of questions and make sure that we're going through them and not missing any ones. Please like chat in the comment box. We love to see you guys interacting. That helps us to know, feel like we're not just speaking to an empty room. But if you put your questions in there that you would like us to answer, then yeah, that would be super helpful. So, okay, let me, oh my goodness. Actually, I don't have my questions pulled up. Do you have your questions?
I have them.
Okay.
So we received 9 questions ahead of time. And then like Whitney said, feel free to add any additional ones. The first question we're going to get started with is someone asked, should I use Pirate Ship or Etsy to ship?
Yes.
So okay. I only use Pirate Ship, like exclusively but I don't really sell much on Etsy just because I haven't like allocated the time to continuously list. But I like using Pirate Ship only just so I have everything in one spot. So I sell on Etsy a little and mostly on Instagram. So for me, it makes more sense for me to use Pirate Ship for both. But I would say do what you feel more comfortable with. I think Etsy does discounted rates as well. Like it's not retail rates from the post office, but Pirate Ship does a discount too. And I just looked up really quick as like a reference point for anybody who still only uses the post office or UPS. You go there and you purchase your label at the store or the post office. So I signed up in January of 2021 for Pirate Ship. And since then, I've saved $10,333 and change versus retail rates.
Right. That's
And that's
crazy.
a lot of money. And it's not me saving because my customers pay for shipping. It's like that Pirate Ship is saving them like $10,300 in the past
Wow.
3 years. And even 2021, I don't really want to like use as a good reference point because I only did about 2 sales a month for that year. But last year I saved $4,600 in shipping. Like that's crazy. It's like almost half.
Goodness.
So that I like Pirate Ship.
Yeah. So the only time that I use Etsy to buy labels is when it's an international order through Etsy. Now, someone was saying, they were like, I don't like the Etsy fees. The fees are going to be the same regardless of who you choose to ship from because Etsy does give you discounted rates. Now, Etsy for a long time only offered FedEx and USPS, but now in the past year, they've added on UPS on the back end for sellers to purchase the label from. But the buyers are still not seeing UPS rates. So, and I think that Pirate Ship has better UPS discounts than Etsy does. Now, that's just my anecdotal feeling. But the reason, the reason I only use Etsy for international shipping is because when you get the international shipments, they're just higher risk because of the distance and the customs forms and everything. So I kind of prefer to just ship it to buy Etsy's label because then I feel like there's an added layer of protection. If anything goes wrong with customs or shipping, I'm not messing it up. But then the other reason is honestly the bookkeeping. It's so much easier for my bookkeeping and accounting when I go into, categorize transactions. I know Wave Apps knows that every single Pirate Ship transaction is a shipping charge. On Etsy, let's say you sell a $100 item and the shipping is $20. So then you buy the label through Etsy, you're only getting, you're going to get $80 minus fees sent to you. Now, the government doesn't care. From a bookkeeping standpoint, honestly, all of that doesn't matter. It really is the net amount that's coming into your bank account. But for me, and because of the way that I look at my business, I want to know how much I'm spending on shipping charges because I need to make sure that I'm charging customers enough for shipping and that I also have some handling buffer in there so that I also have a little bit extra to cover packing and shipping supplies. And really the only way to do that is if all of those expenses are separated out from my income. Does that sound? That's, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Someone had asked me, I saw this way up above in the question box. Someone did ask about Etsy advertising. I'm experimenting with Etsy advertising for a few months during the summer slump. I don't know how much, this is one of the hard things too. It's like I'm doing $1 a day on Etsy. And I know last month, it's like I made a $300 sale. So I spent $30. I made a $300 sale. Would I have made that sale if I didn't advertise? Maybe, maybe not, so I'm not, I'm trying it for a few months. I'm trying it for a few months to just see. I'm just, I am experimenting with it a little bit. I do think it is hard for us who sell things that are one-off items to do that. Hi, if you recorded the session, yes. Okay, I wish I could pin 2 comments. Yes, the replay will go on, sorry. The replay will go on YouTube and our Instagram profiles. Lord willing, please let it save. So lots of questions. Yeah, just put them in the question box. And we might go back and forth, Nicole. I mean, because what do you think as far as like because if people are here asking questions, I'd love to, I don't want to wait till the very end, like,
Yeah, no, that's true.
So I didn't
That's
think
good.
that till now. Okay. So let me, okay. Avi is asking, oh, and I can tap it and it'll come up. What is the best store for shipping supplies? So if you watch, we did an entire episode on shipping. So I definitely recommend going on there. And I know, Nicole, that you have,
Episode 5.
what?
Episode 5, we talked about
Thank
shipping.
you. Yeah, episode 5. I use a mixture of, I use American Bubble Boy for my bubble wrap. I use a local manufacturing company for my boxes. And then I use Amazon for everything else. So Granger is actually, they're the local manufacturing company that I also get my packing peanuts from them, and my big craft paper. Like I have it bolted onto the wall above my shipping table so I can just pull it down. I get that from Granger, but you should see if Granger is local to you because they actually have locations like all over the country.
I actually just went yesterday to pick up my first order, and it varies, I think, per location. So the closest location, I'm in New Jersey, I'm in northern New Jersey, and the closest location is in Clifton for me. And I think it just depends on the size of their facility and what they offer. But I can't just go there and pick up boxes. So you'll just have to find out if there is one close to you. Just find out how they sell their boxes. I had to place an order and I could only get quantities of 25 per side. But it is cheaper than Uline. It's cheaper than Staples. I used to only shop at Staples. Then, oh, okay, you're by Clifton. I would definitely recommend going there. It's right behind Trader Joe's on Route 3 to the Clifton location. And they're very helpful. You can just go right to the loading dock and they'll load your vehicle with the boxes, but it's so much cheaper. Even buying in quantities of 25, like you're saving at least $1 per box, what I've noticed from like other stores or even on Amazon.
Yep.
But I use American Bubble Boy too. I've used them for 3 years, almost exclusively really for bubble wrap. I use the Scotch brand packing tape. I really like that. So wherever you go, Staples sometimes has it on sale if you have a Staples nearby. Otherwise, I have an auto ship on Amazon. Packing peanuts, I've noticed are the cheapest is at Uline. U-Haul also has physical stores that you can go to and buy packing peanuts if you're looking to buy those. But it's hard. There's like so many things you can buy. Paper, you can buy packing paper. I get the Walmart ones. I don't know if it's like that cheap necessarily, but U-Haul also has packing paper. So I think like just scope out a couple different, like price out a couple different locations and find out which is beneficial for you. Because maybe your Walmart's too far away and you have a U-Haul nearby and you're saving 20 minutes of driving to just go and you pay a little extra. So I would just see like what you have around you that would be convenient.
And we do, someone asked about recycled boxes. We do yes, I totally reuse boxes. I try to, sometimes you see the craziest stuff, like someone will get an eBay order and it's wrapped in like the Chucks pads, you know, that they use in nursing homes and all that stuff. Like, so be tasteful about what you use. But yeah, and in that shipping video, I think I showed how to flip like an Amazon box inside out so that it has a clean outside. I don't do that all the time. So like if I have 20 orders to ship, I'm not gonna flip every other box, all the boxes. I just don't have the capacity for that.
I haven't been doing it in a while. Yeah. But also like I don't want to like the integrity of the box because it's glued, that panel is glued to the inside. So I feel like I just want to keep it structurally sound. So I mostly just keep them
if you guys could help us out, because we're not going to answer your questions right away, please put it in the question box because we're going to go back and forth from our list of questions with the questions you guys are submitting now. And if they're not in the question box, we're not going to see them. And again, it's just that little, yes, right there, the little speech bubble with the question mark. I just don't want to miss anything. Okay, what's next on our submitted questions list?
Okay, so next was, how long did it take you to start getting sales on your website?
Mm. Okay, so I already had, sorry you're driving, I don't see it. Okay, it's not necessarily a box, but you should see, it's like a speech bubble. If you see the question mark down at the very bottom of the screen, and if you're driving,
Yeah.
maybe pull over. Pull
It's
over.
finally
Please don't
a
tag.
little paper arrow to like send out the video, for me at least. It's right there.
Yeah. Don't want to tell you how to
Airplanes.
drive, but also I'm
I
going to tell
don't
you how to
like
drive.
them.
We'll try to watch it. It's just, anyway, okay, so I already had an audience and a platform because I was on Etsy, I had Instagram. So really it was just moving that existing audience over. So I had sales right away. Okay. But if you are starting from scratch, like you're just beginning your website, it is going to take a while to drive traffic to your website and to start converting customers. And so you really have to think about, she says, promise I'm only typing when I'm at a red light.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You really have to think about, how do I acquire customers? How do I market my website? Am I going to be doing that through Instagram, through Facebook, through advertising in my booth, through pop-ups, through going on to live sales, and then, vintage, like Instagram live sales, and putting people over. And I think the biggest thing with a website to keep driving traffic over is you have to keep listing stuff. It's just like Etsy. You have to keep listing stuff and keep putting fresh stock on there, and keep talking about your website on Instagram or whatever your marketing channel is. For me, I have an email list and a text message list also. And that is, you like, honestly, if you have a website, you cannot only talk about it on Instagram. You have got to have and Facebook you can set up where all of your Instagram posts automatically get posted onto Instagram, but you have to figure out how to market. Even like if I sell something on Facebook Marketplace, they're getting a postcard with my booth location and my website. Every Etsy order that goes out, there's a card. It has my website on it. It's like you got to get all these little trickles of water out there so that people know about it. And then my email, I try to send an email out every week, minimum every week, even if I don't have any sales events going on, just to remind people of like what dropped last week, what's coming up, here's some stock you may have missed, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's kind of,
it's good to branch out too, because I think another point of having a website is to reach people that don't have social media. So if you only post on Instagram, like, hey, I restocked my website, you're only reaching people that have an Instagram account, and that people that either follow you or find you in their feed.
Yep.
Like in their, I don't know what they call it.
Yep. That's huge.
There are a lot of people that don't have Instagram, and they don't even have to be like the older generation. I mean, I have people in their 20s, 30s that don't have Instagram. My mom doesn't have one. My sister-in-law doesn't have one. So it's like not everybody is even going to know who you are, because if you only advertise on Instagram, then you're limiting yourself to like your
that's so true. I was even pulling up my traffic sources. So I do drive, my biggest traffic driver is Instagram, but then behind that is my email list, Facebook. Apparently someone came over from Snapchat. I'm not on Snapchat. So there's definitely, and Google searches, which we'll talk about a bit later, because someone did ask about Google Merchant, but I even have traffic and orders from Google, which is awesome. Like if you search for my items and you click on the shopping tab, so not even my name, if you just search for something and you tap the shopping tab or click over there, my items will come up.
My Instagram posts have come up in a search before, and I was like,
nice.
You could do that? Because I was looking for comps to figure out like how to price something, and I just like Google searched. I think it was like English brown glaze ink bottle or something like that. And it wasn't even in the shopping tab. It was like in the images tab, and like my
Oh,
Instagram post came up.
yeah.
And I was like, huh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna look. So someone asks, do you take Square? Um, so neither of us take Square, but I think Square is a really great option if you don't have a website. Um, if you don't, so if you don't have a website and you need an all-in-one invoicing, because one of the things that we talked about, and this was back, oh, what episode did we talk about this in? Maybe in live
Mhm.
sales. Hold on, we'll find it. But one of my biggest things that I always suggest is streamlining the invoicing process, because when I first started, I was like, oh sure, Venmo, PayPal, whatever works. And I can tell you that when you're switching back and forth between all these different payment platforms, you're wasting a lot of time and you're not tracking all of your sales and orders in one place. So Square's great. How is PayPal going? Because you switched to
I
PayPal this year, right, Nicole?
really like it. I haven't had much pushback. So I know some people hate PayPal for some reason, and I don't understand why, because PayPal and Venmo are the same company. So if you got hacked on PayPal, you're just as likely to get hacked on Venmo. Sorry, I don't want it to happen, obviously, to anybody, but the
Yeah.
same, like, it's the same security.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't do, when I started, I did like PayPal money request, I guess you would say, payment
Mm-hmm.
request. And I did Venmo like payment requests, which was what everybody else was doing. I didn't know how else to do it. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think, I mean, this is, how do I say this? I'm in no way insulting anybody, or I'm not trying to like look down on anybody. But for me, I feel like it wasn't very professional of me to just be like saying friends and family only, or I'm just going to send you a request and I can't put like any information on there because I don't want it to be flagged as I'm selling something. Like that, it doesn't help people who don't know me
Mm-hmm.
trust me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'll pay the fees. I am selling. These are goods and services transactions, and it helps protect the customer too. It's their first time selling, or it's their first time buying from me. They don't know. I mean, they don't know me from Adam. So like, how are they going to trust me, kind of a thing? So I feel like it gives another layer of like protection and almost makes them feel like they're not going to be like scammed, because that has happened to people from other. I'm not even getting into that, but so I
Yeah.
switched over to PayPal invoicing, which is basically, and I set up a business account on PayPal. So I set up a separate Gmail account, like a Gmail account for my business, and then I use that for PayPal. And it's just a way for me. It's very similar to the Square format, whereas you get an actual like invoice or like
Mm-hmm.
a receipt, I guess you would say. So I really liked it because I could pull out my monthly reports from PayPal. They'll send me a report. I'll know how much taxes, how much because I'm in New Jersey, I have to collect sales tax in New Jersey. So it'll tell me how much tax I collected that month. It'll tell me how much money I
Mm-hmm.
got from purchases that month. So it's helpful for like accounting, for like when I have to remit my taxes.
Huge.
And it's also easier too, because then all I need from everybody, and same with Whitney, all we need from everybody is just your name and your email address. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about sending over everything, because then you'll just manually input your shipping address for us
Yep.
when it comes time for us to mail everything out.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's like Whitney has been saying, you need a streamline. You really need to like get it all in one place. And seriously, it saved me hours.
Mm-hmm.
Every sale, hours, because now I don't have to use my Excel spreadsheet to track all of my orders. It's all in
And
PayPal.
and then And then when you go to ship, especially if you're doing open boxes, and how confusing that is to track that across different dates. For me, I just print, you take that invoice, so you have it's a line by line item. So one ironstone pitcher, one silver plate spoon, one this. And if you have multiple sales, you print them all out. You put all those customers' invoices together. You go through, you check, I check mark, hey, I got that, I got that, I got that. I can't tell you how, sometimes I'm packing orders for my friend who loves my stuff, and I've got two 15-inch cubic boxes. You know how big those are. I've got a dozen items I've got to go through from the past month. It's all there on the invoice. I go through, I double check it, everything goes in the box. And if all you have from them is $20, $200 on Venmo, then you're having to go back in DMs and wait, what did they order? What was it? Like making, if you, like it is, the fees are so minimal compared to the amount of time and brain space you are saving. It's worth it.
Like just for reference, like if I had like 64 open boxes in May.
That's like my nightmare.
I'm really like anal with being like organized, so like that was fine for me, but it was more like, okay, I have to keep track of, where was I going with this?
Keeping track with invoices.
So like if I would have to keep track of everybody, so before, when I was just sending requests for money for PayPal and Venmo, I would have an Excel spreadsheet and I would say like stoneware, ink bottle, whatever, $18, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody would have their own like grouping of customer groupings, right? So I would have it all like that, but I would have to go in there and manually do it. And then, because I'm a little, I had to write everybody's stuff down because I didn't have an invoice. So now I have a sticky note, like list of the items per person that I had along with their items, so I didn't miss anything. Because even if you have 30 open boxes, I mean, that's still a lot of orders, especially when people are adding multiple things. Like, it was just a lot. So I paid PayPal, I think like $200 and something in fees last month. Thank you. I will gladly pay them so I don't have to write the same thing down like 40 times and spend hours and hours of work. Of time doing the work.
Because you can take those hours and make more money.
Sell more
Whatever
stuff.
that 200, if you saved 10 hours this past, how much revenue can you generate of 10 hours of live selling? Way more than $200, right? Way more. So we just have to reframe it. Okay, can I also interject?
Sure.
When we're talking about like streamline, it's kind of changed my life in the past 3 months. Tracking my Instagram live sale claims on an Excel spreadsheet during the live. I'm so excited I can't even talk. Because, okay, I think I saw Sarah's Vintage doing this, and then I noticed someone else. I was like, they're on their computer. And then, because I've been writing it down by hand this whole time, and then you have all the papers, and you're because I usually people will claim more than one thing. So I get my spreadsheet, and I do it, and then all I have to do is sort alphabetically, and it's automatically grouped together everyone's claims. So if Abigail claimed 5 items, I'm not having to go through my list and trying to pull them all out and make sure I didn't miss anything. It's just boom, it's there. I can look at it. I color code it when I send the invoice, because I invoice via Shopify, but it's just that missing link I needed to like make things so much faster. Game changer for me. So
it's a really good tip. I'm gonna have to start that.
And I'll give you a tip too. So I also have so I keep a blank template on Google Drive, and then when I have a sale, I copy it, and so I don't make it new. I just copy it, and then I make it for that day. And it's great because then I always threw the paper copies away, but then I can look back at previous sales. Okay, I had someone claim something May 8th with a username I'd never sold to before, and then they ghosted me and they didn't pay me for it. But they did send me the email address for the invoice, but they never paid the invoice. Well, end of May, this new username handle claimed something in my live sale, I asked for their email address and they send me their email address. I'm like, this sounds familiar. And I go back, they're the one that ghosted me for the claim. So then I told them, you have this amount of time to, and usually I'm very understanding. I really work with people, but I'm kind of like 2 strikes and you're out. I don't block, but I did say, you need to pay me for that. Like, your email address is the same, but I could go back and look to confirm, because I had the spreadsheet, I had the data, I could go back and see, oh, this is the same person. And then I could just say, like, if you don't pay me by this time, you're not allowed to shop my live sales. Like, if you claim something, I will ignore it. Just, I'm sorry, but you know, just to make it fair for everyone. And they were like, I completely understand. And then they never, they didn't complete that invoice either. But having that, I'm just saying, having that data that I can look back and refer to. And the other thing with the live sale claim, sorry, we're kind of rabbit trailing, is that I do have like a sales goal for every sale. Like, I know what my average is, and I have a running total for the, so that adds up how much revenue, how many sales I've made. So if it's how many, you know, dollars of claims I've had so far in the sale, and I will actually adjust what I'm pulling into the live. If I have not, if I'm getting like 3/4 through my stuff and I'm like, whoa, I am way below, I might actually pull it and hire into items or other pieces for my inventory that I know are more likely to sell. Or I know, like, okay, I'm gonna have to do 20 extra items, like for another 20 minutes. Just things like that. So that also even keeps me on track in the moment to have those numbers up there, because if I'm going to get on the screen and live sale, I have a number that I want to hit to make it worth my time. So yeah. Okay. I'm done. Sorry. I was so excited. I was like, I have to share this.
That's good. Someone had commented that it must be chaos to try to keep track of claims during a live sale. It's really not bad if you, I mean, I know people who just basically show the item and they say how much it is, and then they just write, like, their paper is blank until someone starts claiming. But if they can make it work, that's great for them. I can't do that. I can't show you my notebook because I have people's names on it. But I do, like, I have the notebook open like this, and I'll do both sheets will be the live sale, and I'll say round 1, round 2, whatever, and each item is on there. Whitney does it all digitally, like print it out, but I like to handwrite it. And then I'll put the person's name next to it in a different color. So if my regular writing is in black pen, then I'll take like one of these colorful pens and I'll write the person's name next to the item, so it's easier that it stands out. And then sometimes for like the recap, I'll do a different color, so that like if I change the price during the recap, then I'll put the new price in, like, say this color, and the person's name will be in this color. It just helps, like, kind of make things stand out, so it's easier to see, like, the customer's name.
I think having a system in place is really important. I did start off listing out every single item on a list, you know, of what I was going to sell, and then would just write the name in. But I think I just got to a point, I was doing more than 30 items. It took so much time for me to write down all the items. And I'm like, well, if half of it doesn't sell, I feel like I'm wasting time. Yeah, so I just write the price on a piece of masking tape and put it on the item. And then what I do, if it does sell, especially if I have a whole bunch of really similar items, I will write down on a sticky note their name and put it on the item. And and that kind of matches. And then I really try to, I don't do this 100%, but because I know some people do screenshots. I even, Foundress was, I can't remember your first name. I think Foundress is in here. I was watching you in a live sale and you were like taking screenshots of the claim, maybe, or the name. Anyway, so I think people do it differently. But where was I going with that? For me, it was just easier to kind of like put this. I was saying after the sale, especially if someone claimed several items, I will actually take a picture of everything that they claimed. That just helps because I'm so visual. That helps me to match that. So when I go down to ship, if I have a question, if I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure, then I can look back at the picture and make sure that I have the right items. And then also it just helps. It's never happened, but I'm always a little nervous about someone claiming an item during a live sale and they're getting it and they're like, this is not the right thing, or this is not what I thought I was claiming. I'm just always afraid. So if I have time, I really do try to take the picture. And then when I send the invoice, I send them the picture and yeah. So, oh, thanks, Debbie.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
I know.
So
Okay.
these also help, like if you have little boxes that you cut down or like little things to corral. Like my husband buys these, I think they're pre-workout drinks. I use these. So if someone claims like, I don't know, this, and I have a couple of these, that will go in their box with their name tag in that box. So like little boxes do help
Yeah.
to kind of just like corral multiple
That's such a
items
good tip.
per person,
Yes.
per order.
Okay. Great. I love that you guys are using the question box. Thank you so much. I think we're ready for the next question from the list.
Okay.
Do you want to read that?
So are you signed up for Google Merchant Center so listings are found in Google search?
Yes. Do not
Okay.
ask me how I did it. I don't know. I don't remember because everything that I had to do when I set up my website on Shopify is like blacked out of my brain because it was so unenjoyable. But but I did. Now, if you're on Shopify, Shopify makes it really easy. I did open up Google Merchant Center, and this is the same thing that we're talking about, my listings showing up on Google Shopping search. And I have sold stuff. It's so cool on Shopify because you can click on it when you get an order. You're like, oh, where did they come from? And I've had orders before where they searched Google, found my website, and they bought. One was a piece of artwork that the buyer's grandfather had painted. Because I was like, how did you find me? She's like, well, this is my grandfather. And he was very prolific. There's a lot of people in my family who have owned his artwork. She was in California, I'm in Kansas. And she's like, I wanted his painting and you had it. I'm like, oh. She's like,
Wow.
I Googled you. Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah. So I will tell you, it does take time for Google, like for the SEO to build and for you to kind of build clout on Google so that your listings show up on there. But it works. It works. So it's a pain in the beginning. I don't do ads on Google or anything like that. I don't do that much with it, but it's there. So yeah. Okay, so, oh my gosh, there's so many good questions in here. Okay, now someone asked, do you use Shopify? Yes, I will just say we did a recent episode. Was it last? I think it was episode 9, all about Shopify. We
Yeah.
brought on Kelsey from the Antiquer, so go watch that if you want more info on Shopify. I'm gonna go ahead and go do another, where to start. Okay, guys, so where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Go back to episode 1. So watch episode 1, and we kind of, that's like our big picture story of how we started. And that, I think that if you haven't seen that episode, or if you've seen it already, go back and watch it again, and that will hopefully give you some first steps. I mean, literally, we made a roadmap for Shop Talk of like where we wanted to take you guys, and it was how to start, and then how to find inventory, how to start Instagram, how to sell on Instagram, how to ship, and then just moved on down the list. So that's a great resource. If you guys comment YouTube below, if you comment YouTube, you will get a DM from me with a link to the YouTube channel that has all of our replays. I also have a free.
Make sure it's one word, like YouTube with no.
Yes, thank you. I also have a free starter kit. If you comment starter kit, you'll get a link. Now, you'll get a link from me. If it doesn't show up, just message me and I'll send you the link. But I have a free starter kit with a whole bunch of supplies and tips and things for you guys to get started. So, okay, do you want to do another, let's do another question off the list.
Sure. So this one is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How do I attract Instagram followers that are going to be customers and not other resellers?
Do you hear? I hear.
I don't think there's a way. Okay, so my thought was, I had to jot notes down so I didn't like forget on the spot. It's hard, especially now. I think most because now there are so many resellers on here, and I think it's great that people are like pursuing their passion and like getting into this. But I feel like a lot of resellers, at least I would say like 80% of like the newer resellers are also customers. So you're kind of looking to attract people in general, and then maybe they will become a customer. Because I was looking through, and I would say about like, I have like over 300 or so customers, give or take, like just from the beginning till now. And about like 1/5 of them are resellers too. Just starting out the past like year or so, or even couple months. But they still do buy stuff. Like I'm a reseller, but I don't buy a lot from other people. But if somebody has something that I like, I would consider myself to be a customer and a reseller. So it's like hard to differentiate because I feel like if you like this, you most likely have it in your home too. It's not like you're just selling.
So here's how I think of it, and I probably got this idea from either Michelle Gifford. It was probably Michelle Gifford, but you want to think about how to attract people that are interested in fringe, that are on the fringe. Okay, so let's, instead of thinking resellers, let's think like the person that you are wanting to attract that will drive the kind of content that you create on Instagram. So you have to become very, very clear on who you are, and also on the kind of person that you are serving with your content. So here's the thing. This is one reason, honestly, why we do shop talk, but this is one reason why I set up a subscription within Instagram. So it's about $5 a month. You guys can go to my page and see it, and you get exclusive private content from me. And it is for sellers. It is shipping tips, Instagram tips, picking tips, customer service, all the selling stuff. But I did not want my main account to become an account. If I posted that kind of stuff all the time, who am I going to attract? If I'm posting tips on shipping, I'm going to attract other sellers. If I'm posting even tips on picking, I'm going to attract other sellers. Who I want to attract are private buyers. There is nothing I love more than a private Instagram account with a picture of somebody's 3 grandkids and Nana loves Jesus. Okay? You are my people. I also love to attract people who love interior design, people who are studying antiques and collecting antiques, people who are stagers, real estate agents, even other estate sale companies, because you know what? They might come to me and be like, hey, I have stuff that you could buy, right? I want to attract quilt historians. So start to think about, the things that you really, really are wanting to sell, and it is hard. You do not have to be like niching down necessarily what you're selling, but it really helps to be clear on the style and the things that you're selling. I'm myself am in a period of transition stylistically, as I am moving away from kind of like cheap, how do I say this? Like, I want to sell true antiques. Okay. I just picked up this killer bronze statue of like David with a lion pelt around him today. And I'm so excited about it. Like, I want to sell things like that. And so like, that's the hard part when you're new at this, is it takes a ton of experimentation to figure out who you are, what you sell, what you love. But the more that you can focus and zero in on the kind of people that you are serving, then you will create content that will attract the right kind of people. So hopefully that helps as well. I think it's real. That's the part also. There's a lot of these like hashtag groups or engagement pods, or different things that sellers do to encourage each other. Okay, how do I say this without sounding like a mean girl? But sometimes, for example, I don't know if you guys have heard of engagement pods, but if you're in an Instagram group and it's like 20 different seller accounts, like, oh my gosh, like, hey, let's join. And every time someone has a sell, we'll share it, and we'll engage, and we'll like and comment and stuff. So you're basically teaching the algorithm that sellers love this content, not necessarily not necessarily
Okay.
interior design, historians, collectors, etc., or private accounts. It seems like it should work, but if all that you're engaging with are other seller accounts, that is what Instagram is going to send you. So you have to think about what's on the fringe of my niche. Is it I love following interior design accounts because they give me ideas of how to style my products so that I can style them in a way that private buyers will want to get them. Okay, I've gone really long. Does this make
It
sense?
makes sense.
Okay.
I'm in one of those groups. There's like 20 something of us, and we all engage on each other's posts. So that's interesting because I never thought
Yeah.
about that. I thought it was more like, okay, we're attracting more people. We're trying to encourage people to share, save, whatever on our posts. But that's right. I never really thought of it that way.
It's like I yeah. I am so thankful and I love supporting other sellers. And a lot of times I don't do group sales or different things because I really want to reach those fringe accounts. Um, so it's something to think about. Something to think about.
That's good.
Okay, and this can we answer the next question on the list because I
Yeah.
think this is very much how do you get seen in this sea of sellers? And I think again that comes down to branding, your own personal business identity. That was with Marcella in episode 5 or 6, episode
Yeah.
6, really niching down into who you are, what makes you unique, what sets you apart. And it might be simply, some like it might be your personality, it might be how you style things, it might be where you live. But in really developing a really, really good relationship with your customers, I was just encouraging someone to have a live sales solo because I'm like, that is your chance to develop a one-on-one relationship with your customers without any distractions or any competition. Because I'm just going to say it. When you're in a foursome Instagram live sale, there's really fun dynamics. It is fun. You have a lot of fun. And you're also sharing the screen with 3 other sellers. There is something unique and special about you getting on a screen and people getting to interact with you only and getting to know you. So really connecting with your customers in that way, I think is really important too. Okay, what do you think?
I think the only way is to stand out. And I know it's easier said than done. It is so easy to say that. And I think it's especially harder for the people who are just starting out now because there are so many people on here selling. Whereas I feel like when I started, I mean, I didn't follow a whole lot of accounts, but I only knew of 3 other sellers when I started in
Mm-hmm.
2020. Um, but I think be consistent with how your staging is. I mean, I'm not very consistent. I usually have hydrangeas. I usually have a white background. Um, I try to change it up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say be consistent with your staging or your overall feel of your photos. So if you like the dark and moody, stay dark and moody. Or if you like the bright and airy, try to be consistent with the bright and airy. The aesthetic, if you want to use natural florals, use florals. Don't
Mm-hmm.
change, because I've done it before where every season I changed it up a little bit too much, but then you don't really know that it's necessarily my
Yeah.
picture. I feel like the accounts that you see a photo and you're scrolling and you know the account without even looking, that's what you
That,
want to achieve.
that is
Like
standing out. Yeah.
like Kendra. Every
Mm-hmm.
time from 1100 West, every time I see something from Kendra, every picture, I know it's hers. I don't even have to look at it. Robin from Hollingsworth, I
Yeah.
know it's hers because of the way that she sets everything up, and her staging is gorgeous.
Yes.
Kristen from 40 Cottage
Mm-hmm.
Street always has the books and the little bird. It's always going to
Mm-hmm.
be Kristen's picture. So I feel like if you be consistent, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
just the way that you set, if you always take pictures of something on a chair, the chair is good for scale and it's also good to like anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Just like maybe be a little consistent with that because then people will recognize you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would also say like it will help establish a brand identity and like the clientele that are looking for the type of items that you sell. Like I don't dabble in quilts or anything like that. So, but Whitney does. So I know that like if I ever wanted a quilt, I would go to Whitney
Mm-hmm.
because I know she has them and she's knowledgeable about them. If like I mentioned Kendra before, but if I want stoneware, I'll go to Kendra. She has bowls, she has crocks, she has like all that. I always know that she's going to have that. Jana and Cassidy always have English advertising and inkwells and things like that. Like I feel like if you develop like an identity or like me, I guess silver plate
Yep.
pieces. Like if people want tomato spoons, they come to me. Or if they want sugar spoons, they come to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, yes, personal identification. I feel like it's really it helps. It
Yep.
helps a lot
Yep.
to like help you stand out.
And I think it also is like getting on and showing your face too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't be afraid to get on and talk to the camera. And someone was saying like it's weird and scary to be on Instagram Live by yourself. It's yeah, it is. I was just telling a friend this morning, okay, 3 things that will bring up all of the junk in your brain and in your heart. Marriage, parenting, business. Owning a small business, okay? It brings up all of these insecurities, all these emotional like fears, anxieties, everything. You have to face them head on. And one of that might be getting on, doing a solo sale. And I just put music on in the background. It's fun. We're just hanging
Well,
out.
that's fun.
Yeah.
I have yet to do a solo live.
Okay, in July, you need to
You
schedule,
need to
even if
do
you do a
one.
lunchtime live. Hey guys, I'm going to get on for 30 minutes. I'm just going to get on for 30 minutes. We're going to do lightning rounds, and then you get off. You start real simple, and that's how I did it. I kind of challenged myself. I'm going to get live. I'm going to go live every week for like 3 months by myself. I did solo lives before I ever did joint lives because I felt
I
like,
think for me, it's just like, what do you, okay, when I'm writing everything down or when I'm trying to like prep it, there's no downtime because you have to like, not that you have to be engaging, but like people are watching you and they're watching you write stuff down, they're watching you think, and you're like, okay, how do I entertain them?
you do
Kind of like, and
have to
engage
kind of
them
move.
while I'm doing it.
I mean, yeah, you do have to kind of move fast. This is where
Like,
talking out loud to yourself actually comes really in handy.
oh, I talk to myself all the time.
Yes, and someone said, "What if no?" Okay, let's. I just went through this exercise actually with someone. Okay, what if the worst thing happened and nobody joins? Do we really? So what does that mean? No one comes on. You get off and you try again. You try a
Yeah.
different time. You do more marketing. You figure, okay, no one was on. Why were they not on? It is not because they think you're boring or hate you, okay? The people want to buy from you. People actually want your stuff. They're dying to have it. They want to take it off your hands. If they didn't like you, they would not follow you. So yes, they do want to get on your live sale. So you just have to figure out, yes, antique librarian saying yes when you did your first few lives, and you just have to keep doing it. You just have to keep trying. You have to be tenacious. You have to have grit. And then eventually you get the sale. Eventually you keep going, right? And then it builds. It does take some time, but people, you just have to remind yourself, people actually do. You just have to figure out, is it a time thing? Is it a marketing thing? Like not enough people knew about it. But the more people get used to seeing you go live, the more that they'll be like, oh, she's on again. Let's go see what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
true.
yeah, pep talk. I love.
You're
Yes,
very
this.
good at encouraging everybody to like boost their self-esteem a little, I think. Me included.
I'm just really bossy. I mean, I am a little bossy. You have to be a little
Oh,
bossy
thank
to
you. Thank you,
do
Debbie.
it.
That was sweet.
Okay. And I mean, that kind of links to question 6 on our list. And then we will get back to your question box. All of these are just kind of flowing into each other, guys. So,
Mm-hmm.
how long did it take before you consistently started to make sales? I mean, I don't know. I mean, even now sales do kind of like,
There's
go
no
up and
rhyme or reason, honestly, because we've had sales together where we almost sell out, I feel like, and then we've also had sales together where we only sell like a quarter
yeah,
of what we had listed.
yeah.
So I think there's so many variables because, like Whitney said earlier, we don't sell the same things all the time. Well, I do have certain things that I sell all the time.
Yeah.
But we don't always have the same viewers, or maybe the people that already purchased 3 of them don't want more, or it's different. So you're kind of
Yeah.
taking a risk, especially with like the unique items. Like Whitney had those like really fun bottle stoppers, the wooden bottle stoppers. They're unique, but who knows? Like we don't know if people are gonna want something like that. I mean, how many times am I gonna sell these guys? But maybe people like them and they want more. So I keep showing them. I think it's just, and it doesn't really matter sometimes it doesn't matter what time you go live, or maybe there are 6 other live sales on the same time you're on and you didn't know that. I mean, there's so many different factors that come into play that are kind of like out of your hands, like you can't control it. But like Whitney said before, you just have to just keep going.
Yep.
And maybe someone will watch the replay and they're like, oh, I didn't get a chance to catch this live. Or they'll see I've had this happen before. I'll post a vignette of like some of the things that will be in a live sale. And I have customers that don't even shop lives. They don't like them. Okay, that's fine. But they'll say, hey, you posted XYZ the other day as like a promo for your live sale. Are those things available? So it's hard because, my first launch was in September of 2020, and I listed, I think, like 20 something items, and maybe I sold like 5, but it was brand new for me. And then I really find it helpful if you are an Instagram only seller, or if Instagram is your main platform where you sell on, to have some way to have somewhere either a hashtag or a highlight of the items that went unclaimed. So people can come in and browse what's available instead of having to scroll through your page, because nobody's going to want to sit there and scroll through everything and see if it's sold or not.
They won't. Yeah. I think the only way to consistently make sales is to consistently list things. So whatever it is, this was, oh man, I was listening to a podcast today. This was more about, it was about Instagram growth over the summer. And what did she say? This is my favorite, Michelle Gifford. You should look her up, Instagram coach. She's like, if you want to grow by 10,000 followers this summer, but you only want to post twice on Instagram, guess what? The goal and the action are not aligned. Like, it is not going to happen. So if you want to make $10,000 this summer, but you're only listing 1 item a week on Etsy, like it's not going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen. So the amount is not necessarily the thing, but if you're on Etsy, list something every day. If you're on Instagram, have a sale every week, have a calendar. Nicole and I both use calendars so that people can see when they're selling. And so you really have to get stuff out there to make sales. The more you list and the more that you put out there, the more you will sell. So hustle. Okay.
It's like wanting to win the lottery, but you don't buy a ticket. Like, you have to like help yourself get to the goal that you're looking to achieve.
Yep. Okay, so many good questions. Okay, I'm going back to the Instagram questions. Oh, right. Tips. Okay, tips for growing an email list. 2 words, lead magnet. Okay, so lead magnet is like the fancy term for basically a free thing or motivation for someone to sign up for your email list. So I have several. You can get 10% off when you join my email list. I also have that free starter kit that you guys asked for. In case you just joined and you didn't hear, I have a free starter kit. It's like a 6-page guide with apps, websites, supplies, photography, shipping, all the things all in one place that you can download for free. That's a lead magnet, okay? Because you got to sign up for my email list. And then you get to see the gorgeous emails that I send out with Flowdesk. I also have like a free quilt washing guide that tells you how to wash an antique quilt. That's on my reel. That's also a lead magnet. And you have to tell people that it exists. So if you see anytime I do a website drop, or really anytime I do any kind of promotion, I use ManyChat, which is basically messaging automation. And I will say, comment, email me. It's what you guys are using to get the YouTube link right now. You're using a little robot to send all that stuff out. But I'll say, comment, email me, and I'll DM you a link to join my email list. And so every single time I'm telling people, you can see previews, you get shop news, you get little stories. So I think you really just have to make sure that people know it exists. Why should they join? And then like just a little nudge to get them over there. So yeah, I think that's some good tips. Let me pull that off. Do we want to do one? Let me do one more question from Instagram. We did several. Okay. Do you think WorthPoint subscription is worth it to help with pricing? Do you use WorthPoint?
Yeah. I don't have my own I don't know if this is allowed. I don't have my own subscription.
We split it. I don't know if it's allowed. I've never looked. I don't know that it's not allowed.
I don't usually use it, honestly.
Mm.
Unless it's like something very different that I don't know anything about. I've never seen anybody else sell it, or I've seen other people sell it, but I've never really retained like any information on that item, or I never paid attention to how much other people were selling it for. But honestly, I look to see what other sellers are selling things for, and I have like a folder of pictures on my computer, and I sort them by what the items are, because I'm a little like nutty with like organization. So like, and I don't think it's really stealing because everybody has access to it. So say like even like if Whitney posts something, like if she lists something and it's like one of those pantry jars like from England, and I don't really know anything about them, and I just look and I'm like, okay, well hers is like 10 inches and she's selling it for, I don't know, $58. I have to keep that, like if I can't remember, I'll like take a screenshot of it and I'll put it in my database, which is just like a folder on my computer of screenshots to help me, like if I'm like, oh, okay, like because that's something that I might sell in the future, but I don't know if I'm going to remember how much it's priced at. Or like baskets or things that I don't like commonly see.
Yeah, more smalls.
That's how I do it.
I use WorthPoint multiple times a week. So I do think several people have commented, if you're selling more rare or antique older items, right, like those two bronze statues I just picked up, they are like if you have a specific, especially if you have a piece with, okay, I'll give you an example. Oh my gosh, because it's right here. Okay, I showed this in my Instagram live. So when I saw this, and sometimes I don't even bother looking things up. I actually had a pair of these and they were marked on the bottom. The other one actually has the whole name of the maker and everything. And I was just like, I don't know what these are, but this is gorgeous and I want it. And it is a small figurine modeled after, in Ponca City, Oklahoma, the Pioneer Woman, which is a big statue there. And this was produced by the Jennings brothers in the 1930s. Okay, right there you have maker, name, place, time, all of these things. That always increases the value of something. And then if I look up, the hard part is if you just look this up on Google Lens, some will come up that are for sale, but I want to see sold comps. Like what it is for the current listing price is what that dealer hopes to get for the item. It is helpful because I want to know, is this guy somewhere in the vicinity of a good sold comp, or is he way over or way under pricing? And then I went online and saw, and there are several of these on WorthPoint that have sold for $150 to $200 each. Now, I'm not going to get that information, but when it's multiple things that have sold, and someone's asking about like, what if there's a huge gap, like one is $100, one is $3,000. That's, you have to see what it was actually sold for. Now you can go onto eBay and look at that. The problem is on ebay.com, you can only see, I don't know how far back it goes, maybe a year.
6 months.
It's only 6 months. Worth point, 10 years. 10, you get 10 years of historical data. So there's another example. I found this, I don't know where it is, this little University of Kansas felt hat. Is, okay, someone said it's 3 years now. Okay, 3 years on Worth Point or eBay? Well, I know Worth Point goes back on eBay. Okay, Worth Point goes back 10 years. It also pulls from auction houses. It does not pull from Etsy, which is unfortunate, but you can look up Etsy sold comps if the seller has not hidden that. If you know how to like navigate that on Google, like if it pops up, if something pops up on Google search, you can click on the link, see item details, and then it will show you what the listing price was. It won't actually show you, maybe they used a coupon or there was an offer, etc., but that shows you what it was listed for. On eBay, if you go to, say you're searching on eBay.
Search for something. So I just pulled it up. So if you're searching,
good.
I just put ironstone pitcher in the search bar, right? And then you go on the left-hand side and you have to scroll all the way down to, I think it's like the last thing. It says show only. And then there's a check mark box for sold items. And if you click on that box, it'll show only the sold items that fall under ironstone pitcher as like your search term. For me, it's all the way down. And then there's like a button for more filters after it. So it just says show only. And then you click on sold items and then you'll see all of the sold ironstone pitchers.
And Austin, yes, I'm going to read it out loud because comments don't show up on the replay. I was going to mention that too. For artwork, Invaluable, Mutual Art, and ArtNet also have painting. Some of those do feed over to Worth Point, and Invaluable does have some sold comp, like free sold comps you can access. And then Cherish, which is like a chair that you sit in, Chair ISH, has a pink book where you can also look up some sold prices there too. So there are don't feel like you need to pay for Worth Point. It just depends what you're selling it for. But if here's what I'll say. If you find that on a weekly basis, you are selling items that you're finding in Worth Point and not anywhere else, and it says, sign up to get the price, it's a sign that you probably need to just try it out for a little bit. Oh, and if you get my starter kit, I actually have an affiliate link in there, and I think you get a discount.
Oh, that's good. I think there is a way to do like a free trial, but you're only able to search a certain amount of items. I think you're only allowed to submit a certain amount of searches. I can't remember.
Oh, but yeah, sometimes I find stuff on Worth Point I can't find anywhere else. So I was saying, basically, I found an early University of Kansas freshman felt cap from the early 1900s. All I could find on the free internet was like an article from the University of Kansas describing how this was used in like hazing incoming freshmen at KU pre-World War II. And then can't find anything anywhere else except on Worth Point. There was one sold 8 years ago for $100. Oh, wow. So I come across that where Worth Point has like the only sold comp that I can find. So that at least gives me a point somewhere to start. So, okay. Someone asked, did you both get started with your vintage business on Instagram? Yes. And when hazing meant totally something different. Oh, yeah. Hazing, like, I'm going to make you wear a tiny hat and we're going to laugh at you. That was hazing back in 1920. Sorry. Someone asked, yes, did you get started with your vintage business on Instagram? We both talked about our journey quite in depth in episode 1. So you guys can go back and watch that for all the details.
But online, yes, Instagram is where I started, and I started a brand new account with 0 followers, brand new page. So it's just like You just have to be consistent with like posting, with getting your name out there and your face out there, which I have to work more on. I'm not really, I'm very camera shy.
You wouldn't know it. So you loved it when I was like,
I'm a
Nicole.
goofball, so I feel like it's like, okay, you gotta like tone it down a little bit. Like when you go in front of all these people, that it's not as scary, I think, when you go on stories because you're just talking to yourself, really. The screen. Like you don't see the audience. Like if you have like stage fright, I think it's great because you don't see the people that are looking at you. So just try it. But I definitely have to be better about like showing my face on stories more often. But yeah, I started selling on Instagram in September 2020 was my first sale.
2020. All right. Hey, we only have one. We have tons of questions here on Instagram. We just have one on our left on our list, and then we can just work from our Instagram list. Do you want to read that question? Because I think it's so good. On number
It
9.
is really
Oh,
good. Okay. So if you could do one thing differently your first year, what would you do?
I think um, I would have invested in better inventory because I think, and that's fine because, sorry, now I'm reading, oh, Antique Librarian. That's super cool. I think that I would it's hard because I didn't know that I was going to like become an antique dealer and have a
Right.
booth and do all this website. But I think that if you go into it thinking, okay, I really do want to make this a business and I want to make real money from it, I would have better, yes, I'm going to define it. Sorry. I would have bought more valuable inventory because I started out buying really cheap small knickknacks like 1970s brass candlesticks and little holder, like cutesy things. One of those like terracotta brown button cookie molds, just little, I just didn't know. I didn't know what was really valuable. Now it's like it takes just as much effort to sell a $10 item as a $100 item online.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I am really serious about this as a business, I am like, I don't want to buy the small stuff. I don't want, not that there's anything wrong with it. If you really, really love those pieces, I don't want to come across condescending, but you have to think about what is the best use of my money and my time. And so I really have to think about how much is this actually going to make me?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes especially if you have a booth, if you have a physical booth space, you do need to have those $5, $10 items that you can use to fill in. And some people like, oh, they just love your style. They just want to buy something. They just want anything from you. So there's nothing wrong with smaller items, but also, you have to, yes, you have to spend money to make money, but you have to spend it in the right way and you make your money in the buy. Because if you overpay for something or you buy the wrong thing, you're never going to make that money back. All you can do is hope to break even.
So I think for me is I just needed to get my feet wet, like faster. I was dragging my feet so hard, like for like three
Yeah.
months. I did not want to sell online. I was too afraid. I was too afraid of shipping. I had no idea how to ship anything. Like I had never shipped anything ever. Like not even like anything to like a friend or whatever. I've never shipped anything. I had no idea how to do it. And rather than just like diving in, I was too nervous. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if I just did it, if I just like dove right in faster, it would have been better. And also, so I started doing like in-person markets in July of 2020, and I didn't have my first sale on Instagram or online at all until September. So I did several markets in person, which if I think it depends on the market, it depends on your style, it depends on how much you have into it and all that. But I didn't feel like markets were a great use of my time because there's so much prep to go into everything. You have to tag it all, you have to
Mm-hmm.
research it all ahead of time, you have to find different sizes and you need furniture pieces, you need the height on your tables, you need it to be visually interesting on a whole assortment of like prices and things like that. And then the setup time. So like you get there at like maybe 6 a.m. for a 9 a.m. start till 4 p.m. that you're sitting outside all day. And then maybe you make like $200. For me, it's
Yeah, no,
I should have like all the time and energy and effort that went into the in-person markets. If I like redirected those to online, I think I would have definitely had a better profit and I would have made better use of my time. But that's personal experience. I know people that do markets and they make tons of money. That's great. I didn't have the access to it. I guess I didn't have like so I would say definitely should have started selling online sooner and not been so timid. And I think I would have rather sold online instead of in person, like so many markets in person.
Yeah. Just start, guys. Just start.
So what I think will be back. And if you have questions, like we're here for you to like help you out. So
yeah. Yeah. And I saw some comments about like wanting lower price. Yes. I think that it is a balance. Because I do, if you come to my live sales, I have stuff that's, I sometimes have I have stuff from the $20 to the $200 range. But I think I ended up with, I just took a few months ago, a whole van load of like farm junk to the thrift store. I think that's a hard part too I think the hard part being on Instagram is you get exposed to hundreds, thousands of really cool dealers, and it can be really hard to figure out who you are and what you love because it's like, oh, well, she's selling this and I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like,
I know.
it's very easy to allow Instagram to tell you who you are and what you love. You cannot allow you have to know who you are and what you love before you step into Instagram.
I was
Now,
definitely influenced. I would say that the first year or so, I would buy anything that I knew would sell. Not necessarily things that I liked. Or you have to think about, like, if you buy something and it doesn't sell and you have money into it, how much money do you have into it? Are you going to just donate it again? If there's stuff that's left over, I want to actually like it. Because if I can't sell it, then I'll enjoy it in my home for a little bit and then I'll try to sell it again. But like I would pick up, like just for instance, and nothing against it, but it's not my style at all. But like false graph items, like I would pick up that, what
oh
is it,
yes.
York something, the blue design on the false graph. I knew people who loved that and it would sell. Like I would watch other sellers sell it and I'm like, oh, okay, well if I see that in person and it's inexpensive, I'll pick it up and I'll sell it.
Yes.
But you don't really, but I don't like it.
Yep.
I mean, it's not my style. Or like milk glass, if it's a really, really intricate or like I find it, if it's like something that I don't commonly see, I'll pick it up, but I don't typically grab milk glass. So like I think it just you have to like it because if I'm stuck with it, I'd rather keep it than donate it if I spent, I don't know, $10 or something to buy it.
I never return or donate them back. I really am trying to be better at that. I'm laughing because it's like
Hard.
one of my pickers, he's so good at knowing my style and he's always like, you're so picky or you're so stubborn. I mean, but he knows what I really love. But sometimes he sends me pictures and one of it was a Staffordshire. Have you ever seen this? It's a Staffordshire statue of Queen Victoria. Okay. Now,
Whoa.
early 1900s, sold comps all over the place for $300. But this lady, this statue, it's a Staffordshire. I mean, it is like the Staffy dogs, but it's Queen Vicky. But her face is so creepy. I'm like, I don't care if that sells for $1,000. I don't want it. She's creeping me out. I
Yeah.
can't sell. If I don't love it, if I don't have a passion for it, how in the world am I going to sell it to someone else?
Mhm.
So I think that
Yeah, because you have to be convincing that you like, oh yeah, this will look great. I'm not gonna like, I'm not lying to you people. Like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, this will be so beautiful, and I'm like, oh, it's really ugly. I
it's worth
can't.
$200 to
No.
someone. That's what Worth Point says.
I think so. Someone had mentioned that they'd rather keep their inventory that doesn't sell because eventually it will sell. I think if you have space for it, then that's fine. But for me, I don't like having a lot of clutter. And at the moment, I have a ton of clutter right now. Like just because I went to markets, I went to Brimfield for like a week. I have a lot of stuff that I brought back that honestly I haven't even unpacked yet because I don't have space for it. So if I'm if something's occupying space on a shelf and it's just been sitting there, I want to just get rid of it
Yeah.
so that I can fill that void with something else that's going to sell quickly, and then I could keep replacing it with things that are going to sell. I don't have like storage is not is a hot storage is really hard for me in my house, and I don't have like a storage unit. I don't really want to have one, so I need to be like kind of particular about what is occupying space on my shelf. So if
Well,
I leave $20 or $30 or whatever by donating things, that I'm fine with that as long as it helps me stay organized and not overwhelmed.
or you can even put it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Or I also
Or
think if
garage
you're,
sale.
I mean,
I don't
I
know.
love my outdoor market at the antique mall where I have a booth. During the warm months, they have an outdoor vintage market, so I'll at least take it there. Now, I also will say too, antique librarian, yes. Okay, I'm just reading your comment. You said, I've been doing this for decades. I was just about to say,
Okay.
for new sellers, you are going to buy a lot of stuff and then try to sell it and realize, shoot, that was a waste of money. That chalk that up to education. This is your antique business degree. You pay for your antique business degree by buying the wrong stuff or spending too much or selling too low. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't get it. But I feel like I'm at a place where, the vast majority of the time I'm buying right. So I know
Mhm.
it's going to sell. I'm buying really good stuff that I'm not going to donate. I know it will sell. It's either going to sell in my booth, it's going to sell on Etsy, it's going to sell somewhere. I just have to put it in front of the right people. So sometimes the question is, if something isn't selling, maybe the problem is not with the item. Maybe the problem is with the people that are seeing it. So I just had this conversation, like, if things, and it's good and you love it and you know what it's worth, who do you need to put that in front of? So, and yes, and timing is key. There's just, yeah, okay, I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm a big Drew Pritchard fan. It was so fascinating. Oh, look, Beck's on here. I just went and saw your booth today. I meant to message you, but I've been running around like a rabbit with its head cut off. Drew Pritchard is a huge antique dealer in England, and he wrote in his book that he had been collecting things for 20 to 30 years to have like a retrospective lifetime collection auction of things that he had collected. Now, he's not that old. I think he's 50s or 60s. That auction happened in March, and it was amazing to page through, look at the catalog online, and go through and see all the pieces that he collected over decades of doing this work, and he's still doing it. But there's also this idea of once you really know something, sometimes you can buy a piece, like a really good piece. Oh, shut up, Austin. Oh, that is my dream to meet him. Sorry if you're on the replay. Austin just said, oh, I met him in the Cotswolds. Anyway, his photographer Ellery follows me on Instagram, and Salvage Hunters follows me. Sorry. Just have to say, I invited them to come to Kansas City. I'm like, hi, if you ever want to come to Kansas City, I'll like take you around. Anyway, but yeah, so sometimes you're going to come across a piece. Oh my, Austin, I'm going to be messaging you after this because I am just like,
That's awesome.
You're the second person I've met who has met him. Second person. 2 degrees. Okay, guys? Okay, sorry. I'm done now. Sorry, I'm just talking. I'm talking way too much. I get so excited about something.
It's fine. It's a very casual, like open conversation. So
Okay, do you want me to? I'm going to read another question and then you can answer it so that I shut up. Okay, Jade's Reclaimed Love asked, starting lives on Instagram solo or reaching out to people. Can you see the question when it pops up?
yeah, when you pop it
Oh,
up,
okay,
I
great.
can see it. Well, I haven't done a solo one yet, but I would say if you're starting out, I would do one with like one other person. So someone who knows how to navigate it, someone who knows all like the, I don't know, the rules or whatever to say in the beginning, someone who like has hosted before, just so that like you don't feel like any of that pressure is on you to say like, oh, well, claim as a firm commitment for purchase. If your comment doesn't come up right away, it's because Instagram has a lag, so it might be about 30 seconds or so. And remember to follow me and help my shop grow and DM me, like all those things that you say at the beginning of a live sale for people who are new. I think like you're anxious enough in the beginning and you're scared enough in the beginning because you don't know how to do it, you've never done it before, and then to throw hosting on top of that, I feel like is just like it's a lot of pressure and you might feel overwhelmed. So I feel like it'll be a little bit easier to ask to join someone and then have them deal with all that stuff so that you can just focus on selling your items. I would say.
Yeah.
I started my first live sale was April of 22, I think. And Lydia from Ticking and Twine and Jana from Boulevard 58 Vintage, I think that's what it is. They were on with me and Lydia hosted. And I feel like that was a lot of like, because Jana has been doing this for a long time. Lydia has been doing live sales for a while. So I feel like it wasn't as overwhelming.
Yeah.
For me to do it.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful. This was some advice that someone gave me, and I don't even follow it always, but if you're asking someone to do a live sale with you, it does help to have someone who's kind of has the same style. They don't have to be identical, but a really similar style and vibe and similar audience size. And even it's great to, if you're cold calling someone, being like, hey, this is what I can bring to the table. And I think we talked about this a lot in episode 4, all about Instagram sales. So if you go there, we have the entire episode is all about selling on Instagram. So there'll be a lot there. Okay, let me.
Someone had mentioned that it also helps your growth if you stop with someone else. And I think so, yeah, definitely. Because you might have different audiences.
Okay, real quick, Lost and Found Vintique asked, have you considered selling on Whatnot? So I actually tried out Whatnot for like 3 months. They convinced me to give them a try before I ever did Instagram live selling. But honestly, it is way more for, I don't know. It's not, there's a lot of people on there selling eBay type reseller stuff. So shoes, shirts, and it's all about volume. So it's like, let's get through things as quickly as possible. Pokemon cards, it is noisy. It's sensory wise. It's very overwhelming and it's very difficult to like develop your own following. The most people who are most successful on there are those who have really, really big YouTube audiences, and that's where they've come across. If you are already on Instagram, your audience is already built in. This is what I found, is that I had a really hard time getting my people onto a different platform. My people just want to be on Instagram. And it was much easier to just do the live sales through Instagram. And it's the thing about Whatnot is that their system and backend is very, very, very streamlined, but you can figure that out on Instagram and hack it yourself. So we've given tons of tips on that today as well. So that's kind of all. All right, here. When doing a live, how many devices do you have running? Do you use a backup device?
I use my phone.
Yeah. Well, and as we talked about before, like I have the phone to record and I am doing my claims on my laptop now on a spreadsheet, but that's it. I don't have an iPad or anything.
I don't want a tablet, so.
So,
yeah. I just use my phone, but I know some people will be like, oh, I DM'd you. I'm like, oh, well, I can't. Like, if I'm live, I can't view anything else. Yeah. So it does, it's helpful if I have my laptop open, if I don't know, if I'm like talking to the other seller and I'm like, I didn't like figure out the price of this thing ahead of time, like what would you do kind of a thing. But I feel like it's too distracting to like, because I know people who watch themselves on the computer and on the
There's a,
phone, and
and there's a big lag
just,
too.
it's a big lag and it's a difference. And then I
Mhm.
feel like, I don't know, it's too much for me. I don't want to be like, I want to give you my full attention. I don't want to have to like look back and forth.
Again. Yep. Okay. Next one. Oh, Foundress. Remind me of your first. I'm so bad with first names. Foundress asked, how do you balance time away from the business and still being responsive?
I don't. I'm really bad. I
Uh,
know Whitney puts quiet mode on, and I feel like that might help. I do like my phone has what's it called? It's not do not disturb, it's focus mode.
mhm.
So I'll like tune out kind of like the background notifications
Mhm.
of certain things if I need to focus on packing. But most of the time, because it's hard because Instagram is on your phone, and if your clients are like through Instagram, then I feel like they kind of have access to you all the time. And it's hard with the time zone
Yep.
differences too. So I feel like I struggle a lot with like I need to get back to someone right away type of a thing, but I feel like
Okay.
you have to give yourself office hours almost to like so that you're not working all the time. So I don't know if I'm the right person to answer this
Okay.
question because I feel like I don't balance time well. I'm like always available,
Okay.
and I don't think I should
I'm
be.
I'm I'm gonna get bossy for a minute.
It's fine.
Okay. We sell antiques. And I speak from used to be a nurse for 14 years. Okay. Nobody is dying. Nobody is going to die if you don't get back to them for a few hours. I even had a bit when I first started. I was in the junk parlors coaching group. It's not active anymore. But she's like, I give myself 24 hours to respond to people. Now, do I respond more quickly than that? Yes, but we are not saving lives. Okay. And if you
Yeah.
are a customer of mine, please, you guys know that my response times are pretty quick. You know that I respond very well. And 99.99999% of my customers are actually pretty much all of them because all of you guys are absolutely fabulous. But I also feel we as sellers are responsible for putting boundaries in place and lines because out of the 10,000 fabulous customers, there will be one person who feels like they have a right to monopolize your time to get whatever that they want. And there is a fine line between giving really good customer service and then saying, it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm not going to look up shipping rates for you right now. It can wait till the morning. It is, we cannot wait for our customers to respect our time because sometimes it's not even that they're not respecting our time, they're just on opposite schedules. Maybe they work,
Mhm.
maybe they're a nurse in the ER, so they're working 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're only checking their messages late at night, right? And then they're back on shift for 12 hours the next day and you're on an opposite schedule. So it's okay to like, it's, you don't have to respond right away. So I think what's really really good is for you to have really, really clear expectations for what your customers can expect from you and what you expect from them. When I have a live, yes, or different time zone. When I have a live sale, most of the time, I tell them most of the time, you are going to get an invoice from me within 24 hours. Okay. I am telling you, I'm giving you the expectation. You're going to hear from me within 24 hours. I ask you to pay me within 24 hours. Now, there are people, they get busy, they thought they paid it, so I just follow up with them in a few days. Like, hey, did you have a problem with the invoice? Did it come through? Half the times they're just busy. And then I tell them, you will get your item shipped out in 3 to 5 business days. You will get a tracking number from me. Okay. So I think
Mhm.
having a business is just setting up the expectations up front to be like, This is what you can expect from me. And I do put my phone on quiet mode, which doesn't mean anything at all, honestly, because here's my other clue for what you guys all need to be doing with boundaries. Turn off Instagram notifications on your phone. Turn off your email notifications. Turn off, I mean, whatever you need to do to focus. I don't have Instagram notifications pop up. I can't. I would literally lose my mind. Do you know how many times Pedro Pascal has been posted from that dang thrifting reel? If I got a message every single time, I mean, that's just one example, but you do not need to have Instagram notifications pop up every single time someone sends you a message. So say, you know, yes, I'm checking my phone a lot. I really am. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but thank goodness at least it's not popping up on the screen where I feel like I need to respond right away. Okay.
Right.
So that's what I think, you know, being responsive does not mean that you have to respond right away. Does that make sense? That was really long-winded.
No, it does make sense. I think I'm like the type of person that if I have an email, I have to read it and like get to it. Like I can't let it accumulate. So I think it's just like how I don't like having a lot of like unread things.
Okay, what's
I
the
don't like having a lot of things in my inbox. Like it has to be done right away.
so
It bothers me.
so why does it, but what are you afraid of? Like what's going through your brain like, oh my gosh, if I don't respond to this right away, then what?
Then they're just gonna keep piling up and I'm never gonna be able to catch up. But this is with anything. It's like with
Yeah.
work email, it's with text messages. It's like, so I need to like, I'm a Scorpio actually. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I
Yeah.
think it's just like, I don't want things hanging over me. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, look at someone. And it doesn't even have to do with like responding to the person. I think it's just like a mental thing
Like the mental
that I
load.
have to just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like chill out a little bit.
So maybe maybe it's just checking it less so that you don't know
Yeah.
that it's piling up.
So that's why like I have like I have an Android, but I have
Yeah.
like focus mode and you could pick the apps that you want to turn off while focus mode is on. So it'll allow phone calls, it'll allow text messages or whatever, but I could turn off like PayPal, I could turn off Instagram, Facebook, whatever other things, so that when I'm working, like when I'm working like architecture, I'm not distracted by Instagram. So like that kind of helps me
Yeah.
stay. But then if I like turn it on and like all the notifications pop up, then it overwhelms me a little.
Yeah. So yeah,
Anyway,
so it's
sorry.
so everyone's
But I'm just trying to be transparent.
no, and so I think it's so you can tell here, right? Like Nicole and I, we have very different personalities, so how we approach things is really different. So that means that what works for me may not work for you, you know. I think the principles are the same of like, how can I have really good boundaries so that I'm not constantly on my phone all the like, yeah, just kind of like time blocking. I think is good, and even kind of bulk like if you're choosing like top of the hour, check your messages, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think boundaries, balance time away from the business. Yeah, most of the time the answer to life is put your phone away. Okay, all right, how did you do? Okay, so someone asked, how did you do your taxes when you were just selling on Instagram?
Okay. I had an Excel spreadsheet. I can pull it up. Let me just so I have to reference. So before I switched over this year to do PayPal invoicing, I was just doing Venmo and PayPal requests. And I had a spreadsheet that I set up to track everything. So, and I still track like the expenses on my spreadsheet, which I'm backlogged about a month and I have to do that. But I do like my miles, like I have different tabs. What do I have? For mileage, for expenses per quarter, because I like to track it by quarter. Inventory that I purchased by quarter. And then I also had tabs on there by month. So I would have like January and I would put in the person's name, the item, not like the item that it was, how much I bought it for, how much I sold it for. It was a lot. Like that was a lot of tracking. And when I realized that tax, like my accountant didn't care how much I spent on each individual item, they didn't care. He didn't care how much each individual item was. He just wanted to know the net, the gross of everything. So really for taxes, all you need, depending on who your tax preparer is and what they're requiring of you, which I feel like you would have to talk to them about. But for me, he was like, okay, so per quarter, how much did you spend on inventory? How much did you spend on expenses? How many miles did you drive for business? If you have subscriptions to things, like so for Microsoft Office, it's a subscription now. It's not like just a program. So like that's once a year. So I would include that. Canva, I have the pros, so Lightroom is a subscription. Things like that. And then how much money did you receive? And now that includes shipping. So then I would break down how much money I received that was allocated towards shipping, because that's an expense. That's not profit. Or not profit. Yeah. So that's another reason why I liked Pirate Ship. You can do reports, and you could pull up your reports for a custom range. So I could pull it up and I'll say like, okay, like, I don't know, $1,256 for this quarter went to shipping. So like that was a lot easier than I didn't have to track it. It's just like, I feel like it was a lot of tracking.
Yeah.
Long story short.
And I think that
a lot of manual tracking, a lot of like, you have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, if you're not, then, oh, well, I don't know, maybe you drove for an extra 300 miles, but you didn't allocate that, and then you didn't put it towards your taxes, so you didn't get So I feel like it was just a lot of like manual entering, and it still is. I don't know if I'm really like, I feel like I'm like all over the place. It's really hard.
And you can use things like Quicken Books or Wave apps, because if you're just hooking it all up to your checking accounts or whatnot, then it works great. Now, if you're talking about sales tax, that's a whole different beast. Shopify tracks all of that for me, and which is fabulous, because it also, you have to remit your state sales tax based on the the sales tax jurisdiction that they live in. So based on county or zip code or whatever. So if you're tracking that manually, good luck. I mean, it's kind of a bit of a nightmare, but because you have to have the shipping address and everything set up for it. But yeah, spreadsheets are your friend.
Yeah. The spreadsheet, like I had a separate tab for New Jersey tax. So if it was a New Jersey customer, I would put the tax into that column, and then at the bottom I would just have like the sum, and it's like, okay, well, I received, I don't know, $26.48 this month for taxes for New Jersey. So then like that kind of helped, but still it's a lot of manual entering. And then if you're doing it quickly because you want to enter everything in there, you could screw up, and you don't want to like screw up when it comes to taxes, because you could either, I don't want to say screw yourself, but like kind of. Sorry. So
accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's several questions. I'm going to flip through them really quick, because I think that we've already kind of answered these. Significant following. No, there are ladies on here who are killing it, who have like micro followings, and it's just showing up consistently and having customers that want to buy from you. So I don't think you should wait. If anything, if you have a really small following, then guess what? This is the other thing. Oh my gosh, reframing, guys, reframing. What if no one shows up to your live? Then you get to do a practice all by yourself. You can actually do a practice solo live, and no one will be seeing you mess up. Isn't that fabulous? I mean, that's great. Also, by note, you can, if you pop up on Instagram and you do actually want to do a practice live where it's not getting broadcast out to all your followers, you can do that. Ask me how or Google it. Real quick, someone said if your expenses are high or it doesn't look like your profit is going to be minimum wage for the year, I would forego expenses because it will eat your. Okay, Auntie Claire, that's like taxes 2.0. That's something my husband would probably think about. He also tried to convince me to hire my 10-year-old at $18 an hour for 4.5 hours a week so that we could pay him and then have tax-free money to put towards his private education. Anyway, that's too many numbers for me. Okay, that sounds like something you'd have to talk to a CPA about.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to do live sales on Instagram? No. Again, go back and watch our episode about go back and get our episode about selling on Instagram, episode 4, because we'll go in depth into that. But no, you don't have to do anything on Instagram. Okay, this one, how many followers? So we already kind of answered. I'm just going through because once I've answered the questions, it kind of separates it. Okay, Tanya, what is tier shipping? I have no idea. Sorry, I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know if we misspoke or we said something that sounded like we're talking pirate ship. Pirate ship is the shipping platform that we use, which we talk about in our shipping episode. Okay. What built your followers the best, Nicole? This is a good question.
I have no idea. Honestly, I am not like the person to go to ask how to grow a following because I literally don't do any of the things that people tell you to do. I do not do reels. I really don't. Every once in a while, really. Like maybe every couple months I'll put one out, maybe. I don't post consistently. I think it has to do with like if you're already established and if people like you and if they like your content, then they'll stay with you, honestly, and they might share with their friends. But I don't know. I know consistency is key. I know like getting on story. I know what I hear from other like coaches and things like that. Is if you get on stories every day, it's good because it's like another reminder that you're still there. If you post every day, then that's good because it helps like keep people looking at your stuff. I don't know. I don't want to sound like I don't do any of those things. So something is apparently working. I don't know how
Well,
do
I
I say
think
it without
you've
sounding like horrible.
no, you've done you do a lot of networking and group sales also. So I think that has helped you to. So this is fun because we have grown our accounts in different ways because I don't really do a lot of group sales.
You like skyrocketed.
I mean,
You're putting
reels.
all the effort into it. You're putting more work into
Yeah.
it.
So learning how to leverage reels has been a game changer for me this year. I mean, I guess I could look at my stats. I don't know where my stats are on Instagram, but I'll tell you that being able to figure out how to use reels to attract the right kind of customer is really, really key. Um, and then once I have the customer, honestly, my one goal for Instagram, not my one, but my top goal is to get them over to my website. I want them on my email list. I want you to be on my text message list. I want to, because that is what is going to help me retain you as a customer. Because maybe for whatever reason, Instagram stops showing you my stuff and then you never see what I have for sale. So that's the big link also from having a really good reel, having you get the lead magnet for starter kit or whatever, and then getting you onto my email list and then hopefully retaining that, nurturing that relationship with you. I think it's one thing to acquire the followers, but then you have got to nurture your relationship with them before you sell to them. And so that is where I see a lot of customers struggling or a lot of sellers struggling. This is a really good key and it loops back to even selling. They start their Instagram account and all of their content is just listing pictures of stuff that's for sale. The stuff is great. The photos are great. No clue who the person is behind the screen.
Oh, yeah.
There's no personal connection. There's no nurturing a relationship. You can't, and then people are like, why can't I sell anything? You cannot sorry, sometimes I feel like I'm coming across really harsh. You cannot just hop onto Instagram, post photos of stuff for sale, and expect it to sell. Because the game is not just selling that one item or that one, making the sale the one time. Your goal should be to acquire new customers and nurture a relationship with them so that they love you, they love your stuff, they look forward to seeing it. And then when you launch stuff, they are ready to buy from you because they are not just buying from this like Amazon. Okay, if they just want stuff, they can buy from Amazon. They can go on Etsy, but what Instagram gives you a chance to really personally collect, and I think that's what you do so well, Nicole, is you've personally connected with your followers, and so it's not necessarily about the numbers, but it's about that relationship that you have with your followers.
That's a good point. Because like certain people, would you say that? I'm more inclined to buy from certain people because I want to support that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to help them put food on the table. I want to help them like achieve their goals kind of a thing versus just going on eBay and buying something from some stranger, which is, I mean, I'd be a hypocrite saying that I don't do that because I do. Like I buy inventory from eBay, but I would rather support a friend or someone that I've known or like care for, I guess, than a random person. So I feel like that's another reason why it is good to show your face on here. It is good to do, if you don't do live sales, maybe you just go on your stories and talk a little bit because then people might want to actually support you as a person and not just buy your item because they like it, because they think it's pretty.
And then when you get the both, when they love the seller and you have amazing items, then you have a business that is going to thrive. It's like get the people together with the stuff. That's where you start to see the magic happen.
I think we talk about growth a little bit on one of the episodes. I just can't remember.
Well, it'll be Instagram running an account. So that was episode 3. And I think we should do more. We probably will do more because I get questions a lot on Instagram and I think there's ways to make it easier. Okay, sorry. You guys did mention tier shipping is shipping zones. So like flat rate shipping, we don't do flat rate shipping. So I have nothing, it's just flat rate shipping and it doesn't work for.
I know people that include shipping in their price. And I think you're doing a few things. You're either bulking up the price of the item to accommodate the furthest shipping cost, or you're taking a risk and losing money on a sale because you're not factoring in shipping it to, like, I'm on a coast. So like I have to take into account I'm in New Jersey. So if someone from New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, if someone purchases from me one item, we'll just do like say it's $8 to ship that item to them. But if I ship something to like California or like Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, even Alaska, Hawaii, that same item might be $20.
Yeah.
So I either have to factor in like the average and then hope that the local person buys it and then I don't lose money on shipping, but then that local person's paying more on shipping than they should. I don't know. So like I feel like you'd have to it's a lot of figuring out, and that's not something that I really want to.
It's not, no. And in our shipping episode, we talk again a lot about that. So yeah, shipping questions there. Okay. Picker, how does that work? And Nicole, I feel like you do this when you have your like silver plate sources. That's a picker for you. But yeah. I mean, it is. So I have been really fortunate to connect with people. So I have someone locally who routinely, I see him every week, every few weeks, and get stuff from him. I also have someone in England who picks for me. And then I have, I just started doing this. Actually, we have a family member who lives in Europe for most of the year. And I don't know why I just thought of her, but she is shopping for me. So she's going to the markets and she's just going to bring it back in her luggage because she lives here in Kansas City part of the year and then part of the time. The underlying, and this is a thing that I think is most important because I've had a few other experiences where it hasn't really worked out. The underlying theme is that all of these people have pre-existing experience and knowledge in the pieces that they are picking out. One of them is a dealer. The other one used to be a dealer. He works with a ton of dealers and sells to other dealers. And then the other one, the family member, she has been an art teacher for years and years, but she just has like, she has been around a lot of antique art. She's been around a lot of antiques. She has that knowledge base. So maybe when you're looking for a picker, it is all about connecting with people personally and talking with them and being very clear about what you're looking for, the styles, very clear about pricing, you know, very open. Because especially for those who follow me on Instagram, they're going to see what I'm going to sell it for. So I am very upfront with them about my margins and kind of, you know, sometimes they want me to tell them like, well, what should I charge you? I'm like, that's up to you. This is where my margin needs to be. This is probably the ballpark of where I'm going to sell it, you know. This is where I need to be on the price point. And if you do it right, you can develop really, really, really formative relationships, especially if you're able to network and connect with someone who has the experience and knowledge to kind of push you. I have one picker and he has really pushed me because it's so weird. I have no problem dropping tons of cash on quilts, but when it comes to other antiques, honestly, I'm always like, that's a lot of money. And he's like, dude, you know what it's worth. I'm like, I know what it's worth, but can I sell it? He's like, yes, you can. And this actually links to the next question we have that there's another question right below this, like, what's the one item you didn't buy? Early on, he had a whole set of antique green majolica plates, like killer plates. And I looked at them and I thought about it. I was like, no, I don't want them. They're not my thing. And he's like, basically, like, you're crazy. And they went and sold them like that. And I think after I said no, I realized, I told him, every time I see majolica now, I think of you. He's just like, you know, and it's just that thing, like, I should have bought that. My gut was like, buy it. But then my brain was a bit like, oh, but what if it doesn't sell? It's going to be a lot of money. You can't, it's just like, yeah.
I think it's hard because if you don't have the flexibility to invest in higher end pieces, like if you don't have the cash, I guess you basically, right? Maybe you don't have, so like when I go to Brimfield for the week, I mean, it's expensive. You have to factor in food, you have to factor in travel, you have to factor in housing, and then you want to at least make it worth your time. So you have to budget. I mean, you have to really like, and I'm not talking like $500, I'm talking like up there. So if you don't have that money to use, right? I feel like that's a lot, that's really hard too. Like, even with a picker, like, yeah, if they have things for you, or like even my silver guy, like, I have to buy things in bulk.
Yeah.
Most of my orders are like $300.
Every time.
It's like England. I mean, when we buy stuff from England, it's not like cheap. Shipping is usually at least $100 because our dollar versus the Great Britain pound is not that great. So I'm putting down like $500 every England box, and I have to hope that people are going to buy the stuff because that's a lot of money. Like, I feel like you have to, once you're comfortable with investing up front and realizing that the return might take a while to get back, I feel like that's when you could be a little more comfortable with finding multiple people to like be your dealers too. It's scary. I'm very frugal. I'm like an avid coupon cutter. I want to save as much money as possible.
You're way thriftier than I am. You really should be like Thrifty Nikki. I mean, I am not thrifty at all.
I'm really frugal.
That's my new nickname for you, Thrifty Nikki.
Oh man.
So, but this is the really, really hard part about being, and because we're still new, I think anyone who's been doing this for less than 5 years, definitely 5 years, maybe even less than 10 years, we are babies. And the balance, but the hard part is you were only going to learn the more that you buy. The more you mess up, the more you learn. The only way you're going to learn is by doing it over and over and over again and buying a lot of inventory. People always ask me, how did you learn so much about quilts? Because I have bought thousands of quilts now in 3 years. Like that has been my
because you're researching, like you find out what each one is, like the pattern. I don't know what you call it. Like
pattern.
You have to know everything about it because how else are you going to sell it? How are you going to convince people that this is rare? Well, how is it rare? Oh, I don't know. I've never seen a picture of it online. Well, that doesn't make it rare.
Oh my gosh,
like, how many you have to be knowledgeable.
Every time I see rare in like a title on Etsy, I'm like, you just didn't find it on Google Lens, or is it actually rare?
All cats too.
Yeah. Oh, someone. Okay, antique librarian. Okay, I wish I knew your first name. Because it's not on here. Ease yourself into selling. Once you find your own path or what you're best at, then you will figure out how to balance budget. Knowledge is key. Or you can just be like me and you're 8 months pregnant. 3 months after you start selling, you're 8 months pregnant in some old lady's basement in Pomona, Kansas, spending $2,700 on quilts. Or you can do it that way, I mean,
oh boy.
That's two extremes. I don't necessarily recommend doing what I did, but I sold all of them. So okay.
Oh my gosh. No, that's like a huge pet peeve when people are like, oh, it's antique. I'm like, oh, it's mid-century. How is that antique?
This is
100 years is antique.
Okay, listen guys, if this was made the same decade you were born, it is not that old. That's what I want to tell people sometimes. Okay, what about you? Is there an item you didn't buy that you wish you had?
I don't know. I have to think about that for a while. I can't, nothing's popping out.
All right. You think of it and then, okay.
That's a really good question. I like that a lot.
Yeah, those Majolica plates. Okay, helpful tip when you donate, make sure to ask for a donation slip to turn in with your taxes. Okay, thank you so much. They sometimes add the word rare to listing if they don't have that many listed. Yeah. Okay, donation slip. Yeah, that would probably help me to be organized. When did you, I think I kind of answered this about setting goals for sales goals. Really, I just started seeing what my average was for live sales. Like I looked at the past, 3 months of live sales. This is what my average is. That is what I need to hit if I want to increase what I make in a live sale. And this is after I've been established for like over a year of doing live sales very consistently, right? So this is really hard to do in the beginning. You need to have some historical data to work with. And I felt like I was one of the first ones to start doing daytime lives. Everyone was at night. I'm like, I ain't doing that. I just can't. Like, I don't want to. So we did I did solo lunchtime lives or nap time lives a lot of times. So basically, if I want to increase that goal or the amount of revenue, I pull in higher end items or I bring in more items. So if like I mentioned earlier, like, okay, I've got to sell more stuff. So, and honestly, also during a live, let's say I have 3, and maybe this is bad practice, I don't know. But if I have 3 antique book sets and like the first one doesn't sell, and it was one of the lower priced ones, I'm not going to show the other 2. I'm going to try to pull a different item that might pay. Nicole, if we're in a live sale, this has happened a few times. You didn't know I was doing this. Nicole and I had like identical items and you showed yours first and they didn't sell. And I'm like, well, I'm not showing mine. Like,
That's smart.
Yours didn't sell.
But the thing is too, and you can't take this personally. Like if we did have the same item and someone purchased it from Whitney, but she doesn't purchase it from me. It could be because proximity. Maybe she could do like a local pickup for Whitney. Maybe she already has an open box with Whitney. Maybe there's other factors that go into it. So like you can't always take things really personally when it comes to like duplicates too. I mean, if someone has an open box with me and they're adding like something that's not going to be big or like weigh a ton, they're already spending X amount of money to have the item that they already have here.
Yep.
to ship to them, what's adding another $2 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
To like
Mm-hmm.
increase the box size or weight. But if maybe they're in Florida, so that's on the East Coast still, so it's cheaper. But if Whitney shows something and they don't want to pay like the $14 shipping on top of that one item and they don't want to have an open box, maybe they would be more inclined to
Mm-hmm.
buy from me because I'm more local. So like I feel like you really just can't take things that personally. There's a lot of factors that go into things, like all of it.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yep.
I mean, I'll be the first one to say I don't like paying for shipping.
Yeah.
When it comes to like retail stores, I will see like when they have free shipping offered, or I'll see if I could pick it up in the store,
Mm-hmm.
or like things like that. Or like if I want to buy something really heavy and big, I'm not going to find someone in California who
No.
sells it. I'm going to find someone
Well,
local
you.
so that like I could save $20 or something on
Mm-hmm.
shipping.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to be
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah. And you and I even went through that one time because I had that really cool cheapy cabinet. And then we pulled up
Hmm.
the shipping price, and it was just New Jersey is so expensive from Kansas, and you're just like, I just can't do it. I'm like, girl, I wouldn't do it either. So it's like,
Because
don't.
I was just
And
like, when it comes to that, I told Whitney, I was like, well, okay, so if I saw that same cabinet right here in person and it had that price tag on it, I don't
mm-hmm.
think I would do it. And it's
Yeah,
like, I want to support her, I want to give her the money, but I knew she was going to sell it. It's not like she was putting all this effort and time into like getting it. Then I would feel a little bad. I wouldn't want to like put you out or anything like
no,
that, but
no, this.
you have to do what's in your
Yep.
budget too. You have to be mindful of it.
Mm-hmm. So
But for like goals, I would say like the easiest goal to set for a live sale is how many hours are you going to be prepping for it and how many hours are you going to be putting into it. I would say you should at least strive for $20 an hour. At least.
yeah,
So if you have like 5 hours into this thing, you need to at least make $100 profit. At
yeah,
least. So then you need to factor in the cost of those items that you're selling, the time that went into it, the time it's going to take to pack the items. There's a lot. But if you don't care, I mean, if this is just fun for you and you're like, oh, well, I need to occupy my time, then that's completely different.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do you both? Oh, this is a good question. Do you both try to buy as low as possible?
I think everybody
I
should
mean,
buy as low as possible. It depends. If I see something and I know I'm never going to see it again and it's a killer piece and I have to pay a little bit for it, like a little more than I would want to, and I could still make a decent profit off of it, I will do it. But I'm not going to do that for every single item.
yeah. I mean, yes, we always try to pay. Yes, you do want to pay as low as possible, but the other hard, for example, with a picker, I'm like, you're pulling stuff out I would not be able to find on my own. Or if I did, it
Mm-hmm.
would be an online local auction with 500 other dealers vying for it.
That's true.
So if paying an extra, it just depends on the item, like if I'm paying an extra 10, 20, $50 for a piece that I'm going to sell for $300 plus, and maybe I'm paying a little bit more, but how much time did he save me by
Right.
having all this stuff? Now, okay, great. Now this also,
Mm-hmm.
what is a decent profit margin? Okay, now that's a great question. Thank you. Okay. At the this is something we talk about in finding inventory also, which is episode 2. But just to throw out some numbers, at the very minimum, you need to be doubling your money after all is said and done. That's the absolute minimum. For me, if I am selling small tchotchke type items, like small, let's say under $50, I want my profit margin to be 3 to 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the larger pieces I'm getting, more high end, basically, right? If you have a $100 quilt and you're going to sell it for 200, you're only doubling your money, but you're making $100 on it. So it's a balance between that. Also, how much time and effort is it going to take to sell? If I know something is going to be like really, really fast, $50 in my pocket, sure, let's
Mm-hmm.
just, you know what I mean? To be honest, like, okay, because I do a lot of Like, let's just buy it. Let's, like, I know that is going to be such a fast flip. I'm going to show that in an Instagram story, Instagram live sale. It's going to be out the day, out of my door the next day. Okay. I can
think there's
accept.
a lot of things that come into play with that.
Yeah.
So like maybe I'll pay up a little bit more for an item if I know it'll draw attention in.
Yeah. There's
So
like,
like
this is what, yeah. Like,
right now, those elephant ear creamers are so hot. Like everybody wants them. They're paying over $100
are they
for them.
really?
So
What?
$125 plus they're going for auction. It's insane.
What?
For the little creamers that are this big.
Grandma would be rolling in her grave.
So I'm just saying,
Sorry.
if I found one of those for $50, then yes, I'm going to grab it. It's going to draw attention.
Okay. This is although this is something that I have learned the hard way. Be very careful about investing a ton of money into inventory that's super trendy and hot this season, and next year it's done.
Oh, that's true. No, but I'm saying like if you're going to sell it right now.
Buying a few of those right now, like, but I've what was it? Ice cream buckets. Maybe it was last year or the year before. I was sending ice cream buckets to Hawaii, to all over. Everyone wanted an ice cream bucket. I've got 2 sitting in my shop that have sat there for like on my website for like 2 years. Now, for whatever reason, it's just not like as trendy and hot as it was before. And so that's just a thing to be aware of. Like, if you can sell it quickly, buy it. But if you buy something thinking, all right, I have plenty of stock now for the next 6 months, that thing might go out of fashion. Or everyone eventually is going to get an elephant ear creamer, and then they're just like done with it, and then they're going to move on to the next thing.
That's true. Like butter pats have gone down again.
Yep. Yeah, butter pat. Which
I think with buying low too is also like when I think of buying really low, I first think of like garage sales or thrift stores. I don't mind going there, but what I've noticed ever since it was like 2 years ago when thrift store pricing just went like skyrocketed and everybody's thrifting because it's like trendy. I don't go to thrift stores as much anymore because it's not worth me spending. They're not local. I have to drive at least 20 minutes to go to the closest one. And then I'm spending about, I don't know, a half hour or so in the store. So it's not worth my time to go to thrift stores unless they're close by. Or if I'm going in that direction to go visit family or go to like a doctor's appointment or something and there's one near, sure, I'll stop there. But I'd rather go to like an antique center. And yes, I'm spending a little bit more, but I'm only occupying maybe 2 hours of my day there. And I'm definitely going to bring home items. Yeah. I feel like that's a better use of my time.
Yep. And buying in bulk from auctions or online auctions or private buys, once you know what you're buying, can also be a way of bringing the price down too. So there's just ways of being creative. Like thrift stores are not the best place. Sorry, I have like a cough. I'm going to pull up the next question and then mute.
Okay. What are your thoughts of buying overseas? So, at first it's scary because you don't know if you could trust this person. You don't know how their packing is. You don't know much about them. And it's also hard to find people, at least what I've noticed for me. I have 2 people in England that I buy from regularly. I would say at least monthly. But I had to find them and I had to gamble. You're gambling a couple $100 hoping that everything arrives safely. And if it doesn't arrive safely, are they going to reimburse you? Kind of a thing. So like it's like a risk that if you're looking to expand and buy from other countries, it's a risk. So thankfully, I've been very fortunate with the 2 people that I do buy from in England, and I could trust them and I find them like dependable. But it is hard. Like I've looked on eBay for these 2 people, and I've also purchased recently, but only once, on eBay and on Etsy from other people. One woman was in France and then another woman was in England. It is scary, I think, but a lot of, if it could help your business grow, or if it could help you find items for people that are looking for, like your client, like your customer base, if they're looking for that kind of an item, it is definitely helpful to expand for
I think,
me. That's what I've
yeah.
noticed.
And I think that it has to make sense financially. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is, there, and I'll admit, I'm super jealous of everyone who's over in Europe shopping right now. I felt like end of May hit, and dealers here in Kansas City, dealers on Instagram, they're all over there shopping. Super jealous. There is sort of this like aura in this, oh, we get stuff from England. Like it sounds super fancy, right? So we kind of want the reputation of, I'm just being super blunt, like I want the reputation of like, I get stuff from England. I have a picker in England who sends me stuff. But so I have to watch, I have to check my ego at the door, because sometimes they'll send me stuff and I'm like, that's really cool. I know so and so was selling lots of that stuff, but that price, that margin does not make sense. It doesn't. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the shipping, once you add shipping in there and the risk of breakage, I can't even double my money. So you have to sit down. There was someone who sent me a whole bunch of breadboards that were just like photos, and I mean they were absolutely incredible. They were really good. I was like, this would look so good, and I'm like, but it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense financially, and I had to say no. I'd be like, the margin, the margin's just not there. The profit's not there, and so you just have to be very careful that your business is leading you and not emotions. Which is probably
Right.
not super helpful, but it's like you just got to be really careful, because I know what's, you know, and not to judge anyone else's business. I think some sellers, because of the volume that they do, they are comfortable with smaller margin because they're selling so much stuff. So it works for them. I'm not comfortable with that. And I'm just looking at it, and I was like, I know how much you probably got that for, and I know how much you're selling it for. And it's just not worth it. Like, especially
It
if we,
doesn't even seem like some people are doubling.
no, I know they're
After
not.
you
I know,
factored shipping
no,
and everything.
no. I mean, I literally have heard other sellers tell me like, oh yeah, I might make $20 on this, but it looks great. And then they joke about not making any money in their business. I'm like, that's fine if like, but I can't do that in my business. The money has to be there. So
Mm-hmm.
you just have to be really careful. And I will tell you that the dealers are very competitive in the UK, very secretive. It's like truffle hunters. So do not ask anyone for a recommendation for a picker. I've even had my pickers tell me, do not give my name out to anyone. Like it's very, very, very competitive over there. So yeah, you just have to. And if you can't find someone, I mean, hopefully you can just find stuff in the States.
Maybe you could find a dealer where you are that
Yeah.
sources,
Mm-hmm.
and then you might pay a little bit extra, but you have to think about, I mean, shipping is
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Like I had said before, I don't think I've ever paid less than 100, no, probably 120 US dollars on a box.
Oh, real. I've never paid that
Because my
much. Like
boxes they're big.
your boxes are big. My shipping's normally under $100, but I get smaller. I get smaller boxes sent more frequently. So
Okay.
probably the shipping. I just feel like the breakage risk is lower with that. So
So like you might find, I don't know, like these guys, right? These jam jars. So like they're not worth a lot in England. I mean, you could get them probably for like 5 Great Britain pounds. But then when you factor in shipping and the conversion rate and everything like that, and then washing them and packing them and all that, it's like it's not, you have to just be mindful of like the time you're spending on things, and like if it's even going to be worth buying a whole bunch of them if you're only doubling it.
yeah,
But if they sell like that, then yeah, because if you could
yep,
sell like 40 of them or whatever really quickly, then it's worth it. But if you can't, then I don't think it's worth it.
Okay. Oh, this is a good question. This is better for you because what about everyone saying everything is French, yet no stamp or mark? Looks like any regular American item, any way to verify? It depends on the item.
There's a huge pet peeve when everybody's like, this is French. It's like, okay, but it's not stamped and you didn't get it from France, so how do you know it's French? There are a lot of people that just say it's French. I think it's to like drive the price up, honestly. And I really, it's hard. I
You have thoughts, Nicole. Let them out. I can tell you have thoughts about this.
okay, just because you got something from a French dealer does not mean it's from France, right? Just because you bought stuff from the US does not mean it's from the US. It's from China, it's from Taiwan, it's from Korea, it's from Japan, it's from, all over the place. So just saying like, oh, okay, my French dealer sent this to me. Okay, it could be Belgian, it could be Finnish, it could be German, it could be English. Just because it came from France doesn't mean it's French. And I feel like that's why I don't usually say things are definitely English or definitely French unless I know. I could say it's French inspired or the style is very French, but I don't know. Like, especially enamelware, unless it's marked, I have no idea if it's French or English. I could say it looks very French. Like, this is an example of something that I would say you could probably find in France, but I don't know if it was necessarily made there. And I feel like a lot of people just, like the antique word, right? Oh, antique ironstone. Okay, well, that's Redcliffe ironstone that was made here. That's not antique. Just because it's ironstone does not mean it's antique. So I feel like, but that also you don't know these things when you first start. Like, you have to like develop your knowledge. And I'm not trying to criticize anybody who does this because maybe you don't know. Maybe it's like but like you learn, and I still have so much to learn, but I feel like you learn it as you navigate.
Yep.
So I will never say anything is like definitely English or definitely French or definitely, from Japan if it's not marked, because I don't know.
And that is where provenance is so important. Like where did the item come from? Who owned it? Who made it? And if you can't establish those things, then all you can say is
Have an
this
example.
This is okay, I mean, trying to look at what I have, this is a bronze statue in the style of so and so. It looks like a young man holding, that you can just describe what it is. So inferring a history on an object unless you really know and can establish it is, you just have to be really careful doing that. It's similar to I got on a big kick a few months ago about factory art versus actual original artwork, and how important that is, and how there's really, really good art being put out of factories in China, and they put them in gold gilt frames, and then they look antique and everything, and it just takes a lot of experience to be able to identify what they are. So the small lion's head bowls can be bought on Amazon. Oh, yeah.
So this is an example, right? This guy has a Pilco France on the bottom. So he's French. This guy looks identical. A little taller. Shape is the same with like the elongated spout, right? It's not marked. It doesn't have the same weight. I could say, okay, this one is French, right? Because it's definitely marked. This one looks French. It resembles a French picture, but I'm not going to advertise this as a French picture because I have no way of identifying. It could be a reproduction. I mean, this could have been made from Walmart for all I know. I have no idea. So that's like just an example of two things that look very similar, but if this one is not stamped, I mean, it even has like the ridge down the handle. I'm not going to call this
Yeah,
French if I
that's
don't
okay.
know if it's French.
So someone asked, don't buyers buy the look? They absolutely do. But the problem is when sellers charge antique prices for items that are not antiques. And that's what you really have to be careful of, and why
Mm.
I'm so passionate about like education for buyers and for sellers and for myself. Um, yeah, you really have to know. And the best way to do that, the best, honestly, you guys, find the most expensive, most high end, most snobby antique store in your area. Seriously, go there and spend an hour and look at stuff. Read the tags, look at stamps, go to the museum, look at things. You have to train your eye with the true, with the authentic, with the real thing. And then you build this like muscle and brain memory so that when you pick up something that's not the real thing, you're like, oh, and at first you're like, it's not right. Okay, Drew Pritchard talks about this a lot. You're like, it's not right. I don't know why, but it's not right. And you'll have that instinct kick in, and then your brain will start churning, and you'll be able to, like, the glaze isn't right. It's not the right
Mm.
color. The base doesn't look, all of these things. Like even today my guy had this, he just, anyway, had a purse, and he's like, yeah, it's vintage. And I open it up, and the has like a magnet clasp that closes it, and I'm like, this is from China. And he was like, oh. He hadn't bothered to open it. I was like, yeah, I'm not buying that. Like, you have to, like, so I mean, and I trust this guy totally, but also I don't trust him. I trust my eyes, right? You have to look at it yourself, because most people are not out to cheat you. They're not out to rob you. They really, it's just an honest mistake. But you cannot take anyone's word at face value, even mine. Please ask me questions. How do I know it's this old? How do I know it's, ask me. You will not hurt my feelings. My ego has nothing to do with the business. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. So, okay. We already talked a little bit about this, about how to find a source. And then, oh, this is a good one. What are your methods for staying current with trends and what's selling?
I don't pay attention. I sell what I like.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, yes, I do see what other people are selling, and I do kind of see like if it does sell or not. And it is like, I guess, in the back of my mind, like, okay. Or like if I have the same item as that person and it's not selling and they've tried to sell it a few times, I'm like, oh, maybe that's just like not in style anymore. But I wouldn't hone in on or like focus on what's trending necessarily. I would, you could, I mean, you could totally take advantage of it while it's hot if you have access to it and you want to make money quickly. You could definitely do it. Just personally, I would rather sell things that I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
fit like my style.
And I guess I do, I mean, I don't know that, I don't think of it as staying up on trends, but I think of it more being inspired. I get like Country Home and Country Living magazine. I
Mm.
look through and I do see what they're featuring, what they're talking about, like what things they're highlighting. And I don't necessarily then think, oh my gosh, I got to go out and buy all these things. But I do kind of, okay, like quilts have, they're having a moment. They have for the past few years, and they're still going pretty strong. What was it? There were just a few other things in country living that it's okay. It's good to know. Good to think about. If I'm outsourcing, I might think about picking up a few of those if it goes along with what the other things that I have. But it has to fit. It has to really fit with the vibe. And real quick, how many times do I show an item before going to sale price? I don't reduce prices during a live sale. But if it's been on my
Mm.
website for like 6 months, I'll drop the price a little bit. So, and I run sales on my website a lot. So, yeah.
I'll show an item, like if I, it's hard because like with live sales, you don't know who's watching that night or that day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I want something to like, I just want to get rid of it type of a thing, then I'll lower the price. But if it's like the first time I'm showing it and I know it's worth a certain amount of money, I'm gonna try to get that amount. back. But I also like if I really like doing square sales. So like if I have items for sale on my feed, then I'll and they don't sell during like the sale night, then I'll bring them to my next live because maybe the people who shop lives don't shop squares. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's more just to like put the items in front of a different audience, but I'm not gonna show it every single live.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who do that and that's fine. I don't want things to look
Yeah.
stale. I don't know. Like, I don't want people to be like, oh, she's showing that again. Not that I really think that anybody's, how do I say that? I don't think anybody's paying that much attention to my stuff that they would like
Yeah.
know. Like, I feel like you're almost like being a little like cocky, thinking that people are like, oh, I remember you showed that and like this day, this day, this day kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to keep repeating myself if
Yeah.
nobody has any interest in it.
Totally. Okay. Um, oh, right, real quick. A square sale is just a static photos on your feed instead of like a live sale or a story sale. Um, art prices, art pieces, or other things I can't find comps for. How do you price your products? I mean, you just kind of figure out a rhythm of like artwork, small, medium, large, the style, if this is a mid-century, watercolor painting of a German landscape that I'm looking at against my wall, and it has an artist signed name, but you can't find anything about the artist. I honestly just look and see what other watercolors are being sold for. I look back and see what other pieces that I have sold to see what the price is. So, okay, guys, if you can do me a favor, please use the question box because I am trying to go through questions as they've come in. So, because we have some people who put their questions in a long time ago, and that's what the list I'm working on, trying to work off of. Do you have any tips for things you can't find comps for?
I don't sell the item until I know something about it. So, and I have things over there that I bought like maybe a year or two ago. And I'm not saying that like take my advice, but unless I know something about it, I'm not going to sell it personally because I have no idea. It could be worth like $2 or it could be worth 500.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I like to do the research
Yeah.
first. If you really can't find absolutely anything on it, I might try to see if other people in the business
Mm-hmm.
maybe know about it. So, like, I don't know a lot about art. Whitney knows better, like, more than me. So, I might honestly, and I'm friends with her, so, like, I would feel
Yeah.
comfortable doing it. I don't really like reaching out to random people I've never talked to, like, hey, can you help me price this? Because
Mm-hmm.
why should they help me if they don't know who I am and we've never had any interaction before? But I like phone a friend and I'll be like, hey, do you happen to know anything about this? Like, do you think this is like worth something? Or can I do
Mm-hmm.
like $56 or whatever that I was thinking of doing?
Mm-hmm. Just even a ballpark, I think, is helpful, especially, and I always tell my friends this, like, I don't want to underprice you. I'm not asking what would you charge for, oh, well, I'm going to charge $10 less. Like, I don't want the market value to drop down, right? It's kind of like when you're
Yeah.
selling your house, or when your neighbor sells his house, and you think you might sell your house in a year, you want it to go for a really high price. If you're not intending to move, you want it to go for a really low price because then you don't have to pay as much property tax. Like my husband likes that. So, but if you're selling stuff, you want the prices to be really, really good in the market. So I want to support the market price. I don't want to undercharge Nicole by $20 because then she's going to have to drop her prices. If you put this on like a macro level, if you extrapolate it out to the entire vintage community, you want prices to kind of stay stable.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Great question. Next, what do you think of daily or frequent 1 to 2 pieces drops? I think both are fine. It's just
Hmm.
consistency. Doing this consistency. Um, for me, I do larger drops because I batch work so much. I batch work my photos. One day I take all my photos. The next day I do the listings. The next day I do the marketing. So if for me, I just can't do all of that for just a few items every day. It's more time efficient if I batch work it that way. So it's more, I think the question is more if you're asking, is it better for sales or not? Look at what's better for your sales, but then also look at your workflow and see what makes the most sense for your schedule and for time efficiency.
I think I've done polls on this a while ago, and a majority of people would rather have 20 items or less per sale than more because I think more choices, it's like harder.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they have a budget in mind, they like don't want it. Like I only have $50 to spend, and that has to include shipping. Like, what can I buy? Kind of a thing. But I also I'd have to think about if you're doing daily or even like a couple times a week sales, like little sales, would you be open to having somebody keep their box open for that week at least?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to be posting something on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, on a Saturday, but you have to ship it out right away, and I have to pay for shipping, even though I want to pay if I want to shop frequently,
Mm-hmm.
it, that's going to kind of factor in with budgeting and like what I can afford. So I feel like if you do want to, I don't know if daily, I mean, if it works for you, continue doing it. But I feel like you also don't want people to just be like, oh, all they do is like try to throw, like, they would just want me to buy stuff from them like every day. So I think like a couple times a week would probably be better than
Mm-hmm.
daily. But if you're already doing daily and you're getting great feedback from it, then continue it
Mm-hmm.
that way.
I mean, I've seen it done successfully both ways. It just
Yeah.
really depends on your business and what makes sense. And I'm a big fan of just because your customers like something, if it's not working for you personally or for your business, don't be afraid to change it because your customer
Mm-hmm.
base will flex and change with you. But sometimes I see people like, oh, well, I feel like especially like the nighttime live. Oh, I just feel like everyone does nighttime lives. That's the time to do live sales. That's what I should do, but it doesn't work for me. Then you just change it. You
Do
have to
what
figure,
for you,
yeah,
yeah.
what is going to work for you long term, like over the long haul. I think is very important to consider too. What can you maintain? Okay. Tanya has a question about listing end bids. Okay, Tanya, sorry, we don't do auctions on either of our live sales, so I have no idea. We are not the people to ask on that.
Sorry.
um, and then, wait, is that it? Did we actually get through all of our questions? Okay, guys, 5-minute countdown. Oh my gosh, I almost got out of the app. That was scary for a minute. You don't like as a buyer having sales pushed down your throat. Okay, so what feels like pushed down your throat to you? I'm really curious about the answer to that question because I think a lot of sellers are actually afraid of coming across as pushy with sales for people. And so, Willow Lane, I'm not calling you out. I'm just really curious, like what feels like having sales pushed down your throat
I
because,
hard if like when you open up Instagram to get like inspired by things and all you see are items for sale. That's like a big turn off, I would
mm-hmm,
say.
mm-hmm. Yeah, like what we said before
So
about,
if
yeah,
it's like, oh great, another person trying to sell me their stuff. Like let's keep going kind of a thing, right? So like maybe that's not something you want. Maybe you want that. Maybe you're like, wow, that's something that I've been looking for and I can't find in person. Let me buy that.
mm-hmm. When there are
Mm.
3 more claims, they turn it into a bid.
Oh, I don't know that.
I just saw a live where that happened. I don't do that. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't think that's fair. Because if you're the first person to claim it and you liked that price, then you should be able to have it at that price.
I think this happens a lot in I've in um I don't do it that way. I like knowing this is the item, this is the price, make it fair for everyone. That's that's how I do it. That's my business model. So yeah.
I'm not going to say I've never done an auction before because I have, but honestly, auctions don't work out to my benefit, so I just like having set prices.
I
Because
think
the past three that I've done have had like two bids on them. And so I was like, okay, let's just do a set
I
price then.
think if you're going to do auctions, announce it ahead of time. I think turning a popular item, oh my gosh, I want to use a word, but it's going to sound super, super judgy. So I'm not going to use it. I just think if I just think an item, if you're going to have an auction, it should just be an auction up front and not turning it into an auction just feels unexpected. So, and Will Elaine, lots of lives every day. Yeah, stop following those people. Like, you don't have to follow anyone. If you don't like them,
Or you can
just
mute them.
just mute them. Yes, mute them.
No,
Someone
I
says,
don't think it's fair.
I
It's
don't
a
think,
little
I
greedy.
don't,
I'll say it.
okay,
Sorry.
you said it.
I think it's greedy.
You said it, Nicole.
If you have a set price, if I'm selling this, I don't know, well, the marked one, right? If I'm like, okay, well, this is $24 and then a lot of people want it, and I'm like, ooh, maybe I could make it like $30 or $40. No, that's how much I set it for. And I'm sorry, I'm like not trying to judge anybody who does this, but like personally, I would not do that.
I've just seen some things so this is where it comes in having wide price ranges. And let's be incredibly frank. I have some I have very average, like middle class customers. I have some people who have to be very, very selective because they're unlimited incomes. And then I have some incredibly wealthy customers. And I
Mhm.
don't want to price, and I offer a wide range, and I do have some expensive antiques in my shop because that is the market value for those prices. That is the market value that I have set, and I have decided this is the price. I don't want to shove out my I don't want to say low. I don't want it turn into a bidding war because then I don't feel like it's fair to my entire customer base. So
Right.
that's just how.
Well, I fall under that category. I have a very limited amount that I could spend on things. Because I mean, I do this. This is not making me tons and tons of money, and I work part-time. So then if my husband is the one that's working full, this is just how I feel. I mean, everybody's situation is different.
Mhm.
But I personally don't think it's fair to be spending a lot of money on things that are just decorative when we could be putting that money towards home upgrades or food or travel or things like that. That's me. If you're able to spend money and you don't care about spending money and you just want to be happy, good for you. Seriously. Do whatever works for you. But the same way, like I have people that I know that are on a budget or maybe they're retired and they don't want to have to start working because they're spending too much money type of a thing. You don't want to just be like, oh, okay, well, I was here for the people and now I'm just here for the rich people. Like,
I
if
think
it's how like morally, I would not feel okay with that. Personally, do whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize anybody who
yeah.
changed the way they sell, but I can't do that.
So,
I'd feel horrible.
so here's a thing. Here's a thing to think about. If this all loops up back to your brand identity, I mean, it really is. What are your core values as a business? Now, I will say, if you as a shop say, hey, I want to do this bidding thing, make it extremely clear to every customer that comes into that live sale. If there are 3 or more claims on an item, it goes to a bid. Pin it as a comment down below. Be incredibly transparent about that. This goes back to like customer expectations, okay? It feels very unfair if you don't know that's a rule because how often are you actually at the very beginning of a live sale where you're listening to most of the time you're just popping in and they've already started, okay? So if this is going to be a policy for your shop, just make sure your customers know because if they you know, we can feel however we want to feel about, you know, we have different ideas, but that this is where I think transparency is so important. And you have to decide for yourself what the values of your business are. If your value is to maximize profit, this business decision makes sense. Okay. I'm being incredibly objective about this. If your goal is to maximize the profit on every item, that's what you're doing with this. Um, if your value, if one of your values is honesty and transparency, you know, and trying to be upfront and fair with your customers, you can think, gee, well, I don't know how to do this in a way that is fair and upfront and transparent with everyone. They may not know the rules, they may not see it. There's not a way I can do this in a way that is transparent and fair, so I'm not going to do it. Okay. So again, you have to go back to your core values as a business owner. What kind of business? What do you want to be known as? What do you want to be known for? Is really, really important. So I think just, you know, it's so easy to sometimes to look at these other accounts and kind of like we can see things maybe that we don't necessarily like, okay, that I don't think that would work for me. So let's try like, okay, what would work for me? What does work for me?
Mm-hmm.
Why does this make me feel the way it feels? Well, it's because this is the kind of business I want to own. Again, there's nothing wrong with doing that as long as everyone knows that that's the rules of the game up front. So I hope this
And
sounds.
it's the same with anything too, with like shipping turnaround, right? Okay, well, I'm able to ship fairly quickly. I mean, this past couple of weeks have been really like
Give yourself
really
grace.
slow. But like if you're like upfront, like people that work full time, right? And then you only do this on the side or maybe on weekends, and you say, I need 10 business days to get your order out. This is the same thing. You just have to be transparent.
And,
Like it doesn't matter what it is. Like I think like as long as you say like, hey, disclaimer, like you might not get your stuff for 2 weeks.
and then follow through. And if you haven't shipped it after 2 weeks, you email them and you tell them, I'm sorry, it's delayed.
Right.
This is why sorry, I got real annoyed because I was on some Facebook. This lady who she's like, I bought from a really, really big Instagram antique dealer 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I've heard a lot of that.
It's happened a lot. Like, I can't ship stuff out for 3 weeks. I'm so busy. And then they don't message, they don't communicate. That is fine. Like, your kid was sick, school ended, you went on vacation. That's all totally fine, but you have got to communicate that to your parent, to your customers. Tell them. It is unacceptable in my book for you to ghost to get money from them and demand friends and family PayPal, and then ghost them for 3 weeks and not ship their item. Sorry, guys. I like the filter is off. I really, that is no way to run. You need to be in a different business if that is how you are run.
And then it also puts a bad reputation on everybody else who's trying to sell too, because people are like, oh, well, I've tried like 4 of you guys, right? I've tried 4 of you Instagram sellers and nobody's been following through. So how can I trust you? So then it makes us look like we're going to follow suit and we're not. But like, how do they know that we're not if they don't know us?
Because
I just feel like it irks me, and I
get
like
really
steam is coming out.
Okay, guys, all the filters are off. Yes, I won't be judgy about auctions. I will be judgy about shipping times. Okay, I think we have one more question. My babysitter is leaving in 12 minutes, and so I actually do need to wrap. We've been going for almost 3 hours.
Like 3 hours.
Oh my gosh, I hope this saves. Okay, this is the last question. I think this is a really good one. Okay, what to do when buyers think your item is overpriced because other sellers way underpriced theirs? I wish we knew what the item was.
Well, if they don't want to spend the money on it, they're not going to spend it, but someone else will. I honestly wouldn't take it as a criticism. If you know it's worth that, someone will pay it if they'll know that it's worth that amount. Just because, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not going to call anybody out, but I know people that, well, I'm just going to say like tomato spoons, right? There's a huge range of prices for tomato spoons. I've seen people sell them for like $10 each. I've seen people sell them for $40 each. Not every spoon is created equal because not everyone was made at the same time. Some are sterling silver, some are silver plates, some are more rare that maybe the pattern was only made for 2 years, but it's like from the 1920s and it's like you can't find it. But then when somebody sells it for like $10, then it makes me look greedy that I'm selling mine for 28. But that's still cheaper than what I see online. So it's like they're just driving the market value down, which I feel like it's not beneficial because then the item just loses value. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want anything to ever lose
And
value. But it's hard because maybe they're in a situation where they got everything for free and they're just trying to sell it.
mhm,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's hard. It is really hard.
So my dad always said something, especially when I started in this, and I was like, this is worth this much. I just bought this. The internet says it's worth this much. He's like, it's only worth what someone is willing to pay. So, couple questions. First, if you have an item and you're like, this is what the market value is, I know this is what it's worth, I have the sold comps, I have the data to back it up, then tell them that. Tell them. I actually, oh my gosh, this is a great example. Someone messaged me about an etching that I had by a pretty rare etching by an artist here in Kansas City. And the guy messaged me and he was super nice. And he was like, hey, I love this. I collect him. But it does seem like your price is like 2 or 3 times more than what his other pieces are on the internet. And I was like, yeah, like you're not hurting my feelings at all. And then I went through all the research I had done to back up my price. I did this much. I looked here. This is what sold. There's one other I said, there is one that has sold at auction in the past 10 years for $900. That piece is now sitting in a gallery for $3,000 in Chicago. Okay. So this is where my prices came from, for this specific piece. You can't look, because you can't look at, like, for an artist, like it was not Thomas Hart Benton, but okay, there's this Jackson Lee Nesbitt has lithographs and prints all over the place. You can't just pick up any Jackson Lee Nesbitt and say, oh, this is worth $900. No, all of his work is not worth the same amount. Some of his work's worth 100, some of it's worth 200. This one, is worth a lot more because of these factors. So I think it's an opportunity to educate your buyer why your piece is worth more. If you can't do that, then you need to next ask the question, is the market value changing? Has the market gone down? Because sometimes no matter how much we try to keep our prices up, the market goes down. So then you do have to ask yourself, okay, are things changing? Do I need to drop it? But I think if you have done the research and you can back it up and show why yours is special or worth more, then just use it as an educational opportunity. So, okay. Someone asked, I don't know, girl, if you want me to pop your name up on this one. Really quick, and then we do have to get off. What happens when another maker criticizes your photos and descriptions? I recently was attacked on Instagram for my dishonesty when I answered all questions and told her the condition of the item. That's really hard. I'm really, really sorry. There's some really mean people on the Instagram. I have experienced it in really harsh ways, and it really, really can damage your creative confidence. So I'm really sorry that happened for you. I think you can first step back and like take some space away from that. And I'm not sure why someone would say you're being dishonest. I'm not sure if this is a person who ordered the item from you and then got it and then claimed you were dishonest about those. I think you have to then decide, like, okay, if you truly hate it, like, do you want to take a return and refund her money or figure that out, but if you truly answered all her questions, there's some people who are just never going to be happy. Like, they're never going to, there's just never, like, you are responsible for what you said, not for what they heard or not for what they read. You're like, I can only say what I can say. And so if that person is someone who continues to attack you and continues to, like, this Instagram, this is your house. If they keep coming in here and criticizing you and attacking you, you have every right to kick them out and block them. And I am not a heavy blocker. I only block like sugar daddies and the sassy girl that counts. Like, I just don't. And then you have to, I want you to go back and I want you to look at I want you to make a folder or something in your Instagram DMs or in your email, and I want you to search for all of the nice things that everyone has said about your products. I want you to go back and be reminded how many people love your products, what a great job you do, how much people love using your pillows, your everything, the runners, the tote bags, everything. They love it. You create amazing products, okay? And you refuse to let that person live in your head because it will wreck you. So yeah, it's yep. All right, guys. Yeah, it's good. I had to heal from a lot of Instagram. I almost roll my eyes, but it really was like a lot of creative trauma from a previous Instagram account that I have. And it took months, and it was pretty, like, it was way worse. It was in 2020, summer of 2020, if that gives you any clue. And it was very creatively traumatic for me, but I think that through that, it gave me a lot more perspective and the ability to just like have a lot of resilience and grit. And it's a lot to recover from, but you're doing a really great job with it. So all right, so when is our next episode?
July 3rd.
3rd. Did we confirm a guest yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay, yay. So all right, we'll have a surprise guest in July 3rd, and then pray that we had one episode where the recording didn't take, so everyone just pray and think happy thoughts that the recording comes down. Nicole, this was so much fun. I'm so glad you had this idea.
I love it. And just because this one was dedicated to a question and answer doesn't mean that we're not going to do another one in the future, and it doesn't mean that you guys are more than welcome to submit any questions or any ideas for future topics to either one of us, because we do take those into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
We do these monthly, so it is hard to kind of cover everything. And I feel like we could talk for like 5 hours on certain topics, but like gotta keep them. This one was really long, but we gotta keep them kind of like short and sweet. But yeah, if you have any other suggestions on topics or anything like that, just let me know.
All right.
And thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Have a good day. See you next month.